99% of full-time expert professional investors don't even beat the average returns. If you're charging 1%, then check what that 1% will be compounded over 20 years.
I just understood it just now when you said it. But if I look at the grand scheme of things and over time, it's actually going to be a lot. So
99% of active investors perform worse than the S&P 500.
Any money you've paid into your NHS pension, when you get to the pensionable age, you're still able to claim that money going forward.
And is there any one that you prefer more over the others? Let's say like more Vanguard or Invest Engine than others?
You should be looking to invest 15 to 20% of your income so that you can get quickly to your financial destiny, your freedom. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give us a short quiz. Can I just get, I read a lot of your feedback and when you were joining, and a lot of things that kept coming on was ISA, SIPP, and limited company and all that. Can I just check, has any of you actually gotten the guide on SIPP? Did you get the SIPP guide that I set up? If anyone has gotten it, thumbs up. Okay, I done lovely. Yeah, so that's good. Okay, not yet, Sonia. Okay, you will get it before the end of the session. We'll share it. You should be able to download it straight away. All right. The first thing in the quiz is when what was the maximum amount you can contribute to your ISA in a tax year? Can anyone just tell me or type it in the chat box? What's the maximum amount you can put in your ISA? Or someone is too big, 20K, easy question. All right, easy. All right. You guys, you know it too well. And what's the maximum amount you can put in your pension in a year? I mean, including your NHS pension, your SIPP. This is the second question. Some people are too fat, and I noticed some of the people in the mastermind who are already in the mastermind answer these questions too. Okay, I see 40K, Chidima, 60K, Adana, Shegu said 20K, Mosu said 60K, Chidima said 60K. All right, I applaud everyone who has given it a go. I've got the third question just to help me. Someone said no idea. That's the best answer. All right, okay. Now the third question on the Mentic, which you can't see, was when you think about investing, in one word, what do you feel like? What sort of feeling do you experience? I just want one word. Type it in the chat board for me. Uncertainty, thank you. Someone said excitement. Yeah. I like seeing that excitement, and I'm going to ask you a question, Chi, about that excitement. Ali says confused, Lloyd says concern, Chidego will say great, excitement, uncertainty. Shola said 50-50, and Sonia said money. Okay, lovely. All right. I'm just going to ask one last question before we delve in. When you think about taxes, I posted something today in our private group, in our community. HMRC has hired 5,000. They're thinking of hiring 5,000 new staff to help collect taxes. And I was thinking, okay, these taxes tend to squeeze people who are professionals, who you can easily tax because you can see how their money goes. I remember going to my barber today. I had to pay him cash. Obviously, I don't know how much tax he pays. It's not my problem whether he pays tax or not. In fact, I tip him 25%. But HMRC is hard to track people like that and billionaires, but it's easy to track people like us, doctors, lawyers, accountants in the middle. So let me see your words. When you think about tax, you think about Alushala putting an emoji. Okay. Shegun said tax bad, limitation. Anderson putting more emojis. Where were these emojis when I was talking about investment? 31.1. And Dana said not again. Ali said Shylock. She said annoyance and frustration. Sonia said punishing. Yeah. And Kerr said helping the masses. Okay, yeah, of course. Crippling, very much high. I think I can say that in the UK the taxes can be quite high, especially for doctors. So thank you everyone for your participation. I think we're off to a banging start. So the first place I want to start is basically why are we having this session? We're doctors, healthcare professionals, medics. You probably saw some of my write-ups on LinkedIn, or you saw my YouTube video, or maybe someone even just sent this to you. So, and if somehow you stumbled into this session and you don't know me, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I'm Dr. Andy Egwim. I'm the founder of MoneyWiseDoctor.com. It's a platform that has already helped thousands of healthcare professionals to make smarter financial decisions. So I used to be a salaried GP, a former salaried GP. I left the salaried GP job 2 years ago. That was 2022, actually, December, when I got to a level of financial flexibility and freedom that allowed me that opportunity not to have to work for anyone at all. Yeah, so I still hold my license as a doctor, but Moneywise Doctor seems to be taking most of my time these days. Last year we published, I think, about 60 blogs. We created 300 videos, spoken about 14, 15 events, lots of webinars and all that kind of stuff. This is how to get financially smarter in just 5 minutes. Sometimes the difference between making smarter financial decisions and costly, horrible financial mistakes is having the right information at the right time for the right person. So every week I write the Moneywise Doctor weekly newsletter. It's an email newsletter packed full with valuable financial insights and updates to help you make smarter financial decisions and avoid costly mistakes. Some of the areas I've been covering over the last 70 weeks include actionable tips on tax strategies, pensions, investing, side hustles, and several other financial areas. Now, join thousands of medics who subscribe to the Moneywise Doctor weekly newsletter to receive it straight to your inbox, and it's totally free. Don't miss out. Subscribe now using the link in the description. And now let's jump right back to the episode. And of course, we now have a mastermind, which is like 20 doctors who I'm working with one-on-one for 12 months. And I think we did an investment masterclass last year that was 4 weeks. Day one was 5.5 hours. And I see Chi here, who said whenever she thinks of investment, she gets excited. She was part of that mastermind masterclass on investing. So I'm not surprised. It's no longer like a mystery for her. Right, so that's it. So this afternoon, this evening is to answer some burning questions. I get a lot of questions in my DMs. Like I saw somebody, Dr. Nwos, who said she found me on LinkedIn. Thank you. I get a lot of questions on my LinkedIn and my Instagram places, but I'm not able to answer all of them at once. That is part of why I put on this session, so that we can get people to ask real questions, not just what you read on a blog. Sometimes you've got nuanced questions, issues you want to address. And again, some of you were also asking questions about the Mastermind, which is a 12-month program. We'll also answer that, obviously, for people who are interested. Right. So at this point, I want to just get into the first thing. The most pressing thing now is that in just about 10 weeks, this tax year is going to end. Now, what's the implication of that? Doctors, healthcare professionals, a lot of times we find that we are on the back foot when it comes to things like managing our finances, taxes, investment. You can imagine if you're paying double the tax I'm paying, it's hard for you to get ahead. If you're paying more tax than you have to pay, it's hard for you to get ahead, because basically, while you're paying more tax, I can use the extra money I've got to invest while you pay taxes. Now, for some of you, you didn't even realize there was a 60% tax trap. You were just hearing about it for the first time when you read one of my articles, or you've heard it from somewhere. So the 60% tax trap happens when, or if you find yourself you in above 100K, between 100K and 125K, you start to lose your allowance. So there's an allowance everyone gets. It's called the personal tax allowance, and it's £12,570 annually. And when I say annually, I don't mean January to February. I mean like the tax year, which runs from April 6 to April 5. Now, everyone gets that tax allowance, meaning that if you make any amount up to £12,570, you don't pay any tax on it. Right. I think that's clear to all of us. Now, what happens is that once you cross 100K, for every £2 above 100K, you lose £1 out of the 60 out of your 12,570. So for every extra £2 you make above 100K, you just keep losing. And for those of you who want to play around with the figures, you can go to nhsSalaryCalculator.com. I think Yudi will post it in the chat. We can also send it at the end of the event. That's just a calculator I built. We built it online to answer the questions because we had a lot of people asking, how do I know if I've hit the 60% tax trap? How do I know at what point I can actually put more in my pension? How do I know how much more I can earn before I get there? So we build that calculator. Once you hit that number, automatically it will flash up and tell you you're beginning to lose your tax allowance. All right. But today is not about the NHS salary calculator. It's just to deal with specific issues. Now, if you earn above 100K, for every £2 above 100K, you lose £1 out of your tax allowance. And by the time you hit £125,000, or if you want to be really specific, it's £125,140. Once you hit that amount, whether it's come from your salary or if you've come from rental property, or maybe you did some medical surveys, like some of us that follow my emails, you do medical surveys and you get paid. Once you hit that amount, then by that point, you've lost the entire tax-free allowance of 12,570. So your marginal tax rate is just unbelievable. A lot of doctors don't know about it. You've never heard about it. Just wonder why you're earning so much. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot going home. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page, before, let's say, when was the first time you heard about the 60% tax trap? If you can remember, if you tell me in the chat, did you just hear about it now, or did you hear about it before? Or maybe you heard about it, you didn't know what to do about it. Can you tell me when you heard about it? I've got my baby, I've got my 8 months in the background. Okay, so Kes says 2 years ago. I've got my 8-month baby. So 2 years ago. Okay, last year roughly. Okay, right. So yeah, you heard about it from my post. Okay, that's good. Was that recently on LinkedIn or okay on LinkedIn? Okay, a few months ago, last year. All right, so you guys are all clued in. There's no one that just heard about it for the first time now. Oh yeah, me that I said didn't know and got trapped. Yeah, I think I got a message from a Dr. Scott on she said she searched Chat GPT about this stuff, and then Chat GPT sent her my video. And she said, dude, you're on ChatGPT is now recommending your videos. Right. Irrespective of when you heard about it, what's important is what can you do about it? And one of the biggest ways to deal with the 60% tax trap, we've already talked about, there are many options, but the biggest option is through pension. So because everyone is allowed a £60,000 pension. I know you guys gave the answers. Yeah, the correct answer is £60,000 pension allowance. So those of you that got it, you can put your hands together for yourself. You're allowed every year in the UK, every tax year, you're allowed £60,000. That's the maximum amount you can put in your pension. I know. If you're an ST1, you're thinking, well, I don't have that amount of money. Yeah, but it's good you know about it before you hit that amount. And I can see consultants and GPs. I can see some of you that already know that have been in sessions. I can see you nodding your head because probably you're already affected. I think someone Megdala mentioned here that she was affected. Excellent. Yeah, someone asked, is that the NHS pension? That includes everything. Your NHS pension, if you've got a private pension, if you've got a salary sacrifice, anything that you put into your pension, 60,000 is the maximum you can put in a year. There are two problems here. Some people don't use all the allowance, and then there are people who use less than the allowance. And if you don't have the extra cash, yeah, that's fine. But some people have, but they don't know that they can actually use up the allowance. So one way to go about it could be contribute as much as you can to your NHS pension if you're in the NHS pension. I'm not in the NHS pension, obviously. You lucky guys are in the NHS pension. If you've got a salary job, you're in the NHS pension. So you can actually ring up your NHS pension administrator to ask them, oh, I want to add some more to my pension. And a lot of times they will tell you the amount you can put in, not very much, especially if you're a consultant. Most times you're already contributing as much. If you read my my guide on the 60% tax trap, I put in the levels you can contribute for your pension. Now, most times, even if you contribute the most in your NHS pension, you're not going to hit 60K in a year. Let's say roughly, because the numbers keep changing, let's say roughly you're putting 14% of your income. If your income is 100K and you put 14%, that's 14,000 that you've put into your pension. So you've still got like 60K allowance. So 60K minus 14K, that I don't want to do any public math here, but that will probably be giving you about 36. Did I get that correctly? Or rather 46,000 that is still left. But remember, for NHS pension, your employer also contributes. I put in the exact number in my guide. So again, that doesn't bring you to that 60K. So now, if you don't use up your 60K, that's fine. But that's one strategy. If you decide to put in as much as you can into that, that will automatically reduce the amount that is taxable, because your pension is counted before you're taxed. Now, even if you end up not using up your whole NHS, if you don't use your whole allowance because the NHS pension was not enough to get there, you can still go ahead and use a private pension. So that's what the SIPP. Private pension is, there are many options. There's self-invested personal pension, which I prefer because you can manage it by yourself. You don't have to pay any crazy fees if you use the right platforms that charge little or no fees. And again, there's SARS, which is a bit more difficult to manage. But your private pension, you can decide to use it to get up to that amount. Again, for people who run limited companies, like Ada is here, I know a few other people. If you run a limited company for your locum, you can actually pretty much pay directly from your personal, from your locum account. You pay into your limited company pension, or alternatively, you can pay into your personal account and pay into your pension. It's called director's pension. Director's pension. So the director's pension, you're allowed as a director of a company to have a pension. So if you don't have the NHS pension, you can go ahead and pay into your personal pension, your SIPP. Okay. I'm beginning to see a few faces looking a bit confused, which is why you should turn your cameras on. So I'm going to pause here and look at our parking lots. So people from UD and Chigo, if you want to share the link to our parking lot again, I'm seeing some questions in the chat. We're using a parking lot this time. There's a document which you can put in your questions, and that way we can keep track of them and then answer them one after the other, if that's all right. Okay. So if you head over to the link I shared earlier on, UD or Chigo, if you share that link, it's a Google Drive link. Where people can just go ask their questions. Of course, I'll try to pick your questions as well from the chat, but it gets a bit messy and we might miss a few. Okay, I found it. I'll share it. There you go. All right. Okay. Right. So that's about the 60% tax trap. One of the big ways I mentioned is the pension. Before I go into other ways of managing that 60% tax trap, I'd like to take a few questions if anyone has got questions around those lines. The document itself, I can see here. How do I apply for tax return schemes? Okay, we'll come back to that. I'm just going to answer the questions on the 60% tax trap, the areas I've addressed now. How do I maximize my NHS pension? Okay, right. Okay, so someone asked here, how do I maximize my NHS pension? Yeah, who are you here? Who's asked the question?
I did. My name is Ali. I asked the
Hi,
question.
Ali. Hi, okay. Yeah, okay. So how to maximize your NHS pension? Basically, do you mean how to pay the most you can into it?
I think overall, in terms of looking at the NHS pension and even other sort of private avenues to maximize totally how much one is earning through a pension or saving through a pension.
Lovely. Yeah, that makes sense now. Thank you for the question. So basically, that's part of what I've explained. So you can get up to that 60K is what you're allowed in a year. How to optimize it, how to maximize it. First of all, if you're in the NHS pension, you want to make sure you're paying the most you can afford to pay into the NHS pension, the most they would allow you to pay in. And if you are a regular doctor, let's say a regular consultant, then there's a fixed percentage that's already been deducted. Okay. Do we know what that fixed percentage is?
I just
Who
write on
knows?
my pay slip.
Yeah, from your pay, have you got your pay slip?
No, I don't have it right now, but I think I usually say about 9.8% or something.
9.8%. So 9.8% is basically for I'm going to say you're not yet a consultant or GP, is that correct?
A trainee, yeah.
A trainee, okay, that's good. So 9.8%. What's your specialty? What are you training for?
GP.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, that's great. I can't think of many other better specialties to train for. So welcome. Yeah, so 9.8% is what is being deducted while you are sort of like a trainee. When you were a consultant, for the consultants here, can you tell me what's the percentage that's been deducted into your pension? 12.5%. Yep. Now there's something different. Thank you, Stephanie. There's something different for GPs and GP partners. It's different because you pay as an employer. If you're a GP partner, you pay as an employee, you pay your 12.5%, but you also contribute to your pension as an employer. So you can pay both ways. Consultants don't have that flexibility. So you're a reg, Kaylan is a reg, and that's 12.5%. Yeah, that means you're earning quite a bit of money. Did you get the TRS? So some people got TRS, you've got some extra money. So it all based on how much you're earning as well. Okay. So basically, how to optimize your NHS pension, Ali. If you see my video on the NHS pension, you know the NHS pension provides you a guaranteed salary for life, so it's not affected by inflation. It also provides things like disability allowance, and they can pay you if, for instance, there's death in service. I mean, nobody hopes for that, but if there's death in service, then the NHS pension has a payout as well. But the most important thing to note about the NHS pension is that ceiling, the 9.8% you do pay into your pension. You could actually really ring up your pension and administration and ask them for if you can pay a bit more. It's not going to be that much, but then they can give you the opportunity to pay a bit more into that. That way, there's less of your money coming to you, but more. There's also less of your money going to HMRC. Does that make sense, Ali?
Yes.
Okay, but that's not the end of it.
Okay.
Now, if you really, really want to make use of the full pension allowance, you don't really have to make use of the whole 60,000. But let's say you want to make use of it as much as you can manage. The option there is to open a private pension. So if you've got a private pension like a SIPP account, so SIPP is self-invested personal pension, then you can contribute more to that SIPP. If you've got extra money you want to pay into your pension, you can contribute to that SIPP. You can invest it, either you invest it through an already made basket, or if you know how to invest already, you can choose your own investment. We tend to suggest a well-diversified broad index fund. I mean, don't invest unless you know what you're doing. But then you can have a separate private account, private pension that you pay into. And if you pay into it with your money that you've been paid as a salaried doctor, you can claim back the money through your self-assessment. Does that make sense? Or
So yeah, is that last bit, the private part, that I'm not sure exactly how that works, different from investments, like a SIP one. So I had just heard about the SIP one. I had gone around opening one recently, but I don't know about this other private one you just mentioned.
So a SIP is a private pension. So if you've got a SIP, it's different from your workplace pension. It's self-invested personal pension. So it's a type of private pension.
Okay.
So basically, if you open a SIP, you've got a private pension now. So it's not controlled by the government. It's not controlled by your workplace. So that's a SIP. Now, let's say if your NHS pension, if the amount you're paying into it is 9.8%, I'm just going to use a random number. I'll say let's say you're earning £900,000 in a year. Again, I'm using a random number here. So 9.8% of that is £9,800. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Lovely. Now, but you still have a whole allowance of £60,000 in a year. That's how much you're allowed to pay into your pension tax-free. Does that make sense?
Yes, I get
Lovely. So that the difference between that is what you can pay into your SIP after you've deducted your employer's payment into your pension. Because when you pay 9.8% into your pension, your employer pays a matching contribution. So your employer also pays into your pension. So the difference between what you yourself pay into your workplace pension and what your employer pays into your workplace pension. So the £60,000 is the difference. 60,000 minus what you pay and what your employer pays is the amount you can put into your pension and get tax relief on that.
Okay,
It's just hard because I can't see your face. So I can't see, if I'm looking at your face, I can tell when it's clicking and when
no,
it's
it's
not
clear.
clicking.
Thank you very much.
Does that make sense now?
Yes, it does. It does.
All
Thank
right, okay. Do you know what? I'm just going to use the opportunity to answer some questions around SIPP because I see some questions in the chat. But please, if you don't mind, if you use the parking lot, that way to be a bit more organized. But since these questions are particularly about SIPP, I'm just going to dip into them, if that's all right, okay? Right. So I'm looking at yeah. So Migdalia, Oja, you had some questions. Do you want to ask her?
Yeah, thank you so much for this. So yeah, but basically, I'm just a little bit confused about SIP, because I haven't gotten into that yet. But I'm thinking because this year I will go above 100K, even though I haven't done anything.
Money.
No, but I don't want it. I just wanted to get below 100K. I think really hard because I don't want to do locum. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be at home, relax.
I understand your frustration because it makes some doctors who are really willing and ready to work. They think, why would I be working some more to pay more tax?
So yeah, so basically, and then my curiosity, just because I'm not good when it comes to managing a stock and shares and things. Like 3 years ago, I left my just to give you an example. I put some money on trading 212 on Apple, and I delete the trading 212, and after 3 years, I realized that money went up, and I didn't realize how that. But it's just crazy because I don't know how to manage this. But then now I realize, oh gosh, this work without putting mine on that. So this is like the sort of money that I to think about, basically. So my question with SIP, coming back, is that when we get a SIP, I have to open, do we manage the investment on that SIP, or is just a money that you put there and that gets self-managed? I don't know if I'm making sense.
You're making a lot of sense, and that's a very useful question. And you've just taught us something, which I'm going to share here. Thank you. Where are you based, Migdalia?
Well, I'm now based. I was in London before, so when you were mentioning London was killing me with 60% trap, and London was. And then I say I need to. So I just now moved to Scotland. Yeah.
All right. Were you the one who sent me a message? You said you found my stuff on ChatGPT.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, you are on ChatGPT.
Oh, lovely to have you. I saw Scott, Dr. Scott. All right. Right. So you've left only Sonia in London. Okay, then. Don't worry, Sonia. I'll meet you when I come to London. Right. But that was a very useful question. Thank you. First thing I want to share from what Dr. Scott Oja has shared. She left an investment and then came back and it's gone up. Some people will come back and the money has also gone down. So there was a very lucky situation there. And also, if you've done the right investments, if you leave it alone, you're going to be better off than someone who is buying and selling every day, because when they're buying and selling, they could make psychological mistakes. Sometimes they make errors. I've got like stocks I've owned for almost 20 years. So if you bought a solid stock, but the only thing I would suggest, if you want to go a step further, is to learn how to invest. I mean, we've got like a masterclass that is 4 weeks. You finish that, and that will be your skill. You've learned in 2025. You can become a confident investor. Some of the people that attended the last masterclass, they're here. Maybe some of them will share their experience. It's very intense. You're not going to come out from it and not know how to invest. You come out from it, you know how to invest. But let's deal with your question. SIPP is called Self-Invested Personal Pension as against NHS Pension. The NHS Pension, we want to believe, we have the faith and hope that somebody sensible is managing it and the money is going to be there when we turn 68. Because in my last master class, a consultant, I think it was a cardiothoracic surgeon, asked me, how am I sure that I'm going to live to 68? Am I even sure that I'm going to get any money? I'm like, this is a fair question. I don't know the answer to whether you live to 68. But NHS pension, you have zero control. The only control you have is to live or stay. Someone is managing it. We hope they know what they're doing. We just think they're going to pay you at 68. But in SIPP, it's different. It's self-invested personal pension. You manage it by yourself. Now, there are three ways you can manage SIPPs. One is that you can, if you're like me or any one of the people that have attended the investment masterclass, you can choose your investment. You can decide, oh, I want to buy this investment. Now, that might be individual stocks for those who are comfortable and very safe to invest in individual stocks, or for most doctors that are really busy, that could be broad, well-diversified index fund. And I will explain index fund here. It could be like an ETF, an index fund. Basically, you're not buying one company. You're buying a combined or a basket of stocks, okay? Now, just for anyone who doesn't understand index fund, this would be an opportunity to understand it clearly. Imagine football clubs. Let's say you've got a favorite football club. I don't know, Ruben, are you a football fan? Are you a big football fan, or have you got a club you like?
No, I'm not.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay. Who here has a club that they love, like football club you love? Oh, we don't have any. Okay, yeah, Kes said Real Madrid, of course. Man U, okay, right. Let's just assume I'm going to go with Man United. Anthony said Man United. Yeah, Anthony is a faithful Man United fan. Let's say you want to predict which club is going to win next year championship, European Championship. You can say, I'm just going to invest in Man United because that's the one that is going to win, you know, or look at the Chelsea fans out here. You can say, Man United is going to win. Or you can say, well, I'm not sure if Man United is going to win. I'm probably just going to assume that a club in the Premiership, for you football fans, you know the Premiership is the top league in England, basically the top league in England. So you can either say I'm going to invest in one club to win, or you can say I'm going to just buy the top club. Now, buying individual stocks is like assuming that Man United is going to win. You don't know, maybe something might go wrong. They might get a crazy coach, somebody might have an injury, but if they win, you're likely to make more money, basically, because you've chosen the winning horse or you've chosen the winning team. Index fund, on the other hand, is like, I don't know who will win, so I'm just going to buy this group. I'm thinking, oh, I'm either going to just buy La Liga as an index, or I'm going to buy Premiership. So La Liga is basically the Spanish league, or you can buy like Premiership league, or you can say I'm going to buy Serie A. So basically what you're doing is like, rather than taking a risk with one stock, you're buying a group of stock. Now let's bring it back to investment. S&P 500. Whenever you hear those jargon, S&P 500 is just Standard & Poor's 500. It's the top 500 companies in the US based on their size. So if you say, unlike me, you don't want to invest in Google or you don't want to invest in NVIDIA, you just want to buy the top 500 companies. The advantage of that is that if it crashes, if one company has a problem, then it doesn't affect all your investment because you've spread the investment. The risk is well diversified. Okay. Obviously, S&P 500 is just the top 500 companies in the US. If you're thinking companies like Apple, Coca-Cola, Tesla, they're all in the S&P 500. Now, just remember that the S&P 500 is just companies in the US. So you are diversified, but you're not diversified across countries. So, but some people will say, well, I don't care because those top 500 companies are in all the countries. Apple is operating in all the countries that matter. Coca-Cola is in all the countries that matter. But yes, some people also buy a global index fund. That's sort of like the top 1,000 or 2,000 companies. We're not going into specific products. I just want you to understand the concept. Is that making sense, Migdalia?
Yeah,
So
it's making. Yeah.
So that's step one. If you're investing by yourself, you can either invest in index fund, ETFs, you can buy bonds. With your SIPP, you can even invest in property, commercial property, if you know what you're doing. I know some of the doctors in our mastermind who actually invested in commercial property, because they're already experienced in that area. So that's SIPP, number one. Number two, you can say, I don't want to do any of those investments. I'm going to buy what they call a target date fund. So a lot of the platforms like Invest Engine is one I use. I think why I just like Invest Engine basically because their fees is now 0. It used to be 0.15%. Since Vanguard decided to introduce fees, they've lost a lot of their customers to Invest Engine. We've got a link as well with Invest Engine because they're offering doctors that come into our link £50. Welcome. But you don't have to use our link or anything. But Invest Engine is really good. You can post that link. Invest Engine is a platform that you can open a SIPP. Now, if you go to a platform, whether you use Invest Engine or you use Vanguard or any other platform you use, they have some already made baskets that you can select. Again, these things are not that difficult. Most doctors will figure it out. But part of what we do in the mastermind is sort of you have those walkthrough sessions. You have the one-on-one. We do like 4 one-on-ones in a year, plus the group sessions where you can actually, this is the nitty-gritty. This may be hard to do for 100 people on a call. But basically, Invest Engine and all those kind of platforms, they actually create pots. If they create those pots or target date funds, now your goal will just be, Migdalia, I want to retire at 60, and that's your goal. So you just choose a pot that basically, let's say you're 35 or 40 now. You say, this is 20 years my retirement goal. That's just the pot. Now, the pot has automatic instructions to invest your money for you in a way that by the time you're approaching 60, it will start taking safer decisions. For instance, it will be buying less stocks and buying more bonds. I say safer, I'll say less risky. I'll give you an example.
Sorry, Andy, just repeat that last sentence you said again about approaching. Who will start buying more bonds, and is it the basket or so? Sorry, could you just explain that again?
Thank you, there, Che. So it's automated. So those decisions are now automated. They're like instructions that are already given. They are algorithmical instructions. So the automatic investment happen knowing that, look, you are planning to retire in the next 20 years. Okay, let's just say your retirement goal is to retire in 20 years. So you might see that in year 1, you might invest all your money in stocks. So what do you know about stocks? You are in the masterclass. So stocks in terms of risk and return versus bonds. Can you just cool us a little bit on stocks and bonds, risk and reward?
So in terms of risk and rewards with stock,
make me proud.
The rewards with stocks, the potential to have very high returns is there, as well as the risk of maybe losing your money. Whereas, and it can be fast, you understand, like if your company does well, the shares can just rise quickly and then you can make some money. Whereas with bonds, it's just a steady and almost, maybe it's the safest type of investment if you want to say. Obviously, there's nothing that is 100% safe to investment, but bonds is a slower way of investing your money. The returns are not as high, but the risk is much lower and it's quite steady.
Right, that's brilliant explanation. I'm already beaming with pride, basically. So stocks has a higher risk and also higher returns. Obviously, your risk, you start cutting down your risk if you're doing things like investing in broad, well-diversified index fund, because now you're investing in a broad group rather than individual stocks, okay? Right, so that's that. Now, what I was explaining, if you buy a target date fund, it takes away the decision from you. I mean, you can always come back and change it. But what the target date fund is like, the goal is to make sure that at 60 years, when you want to retire, you've got your money sitting there for you, most of it at least. So knowing that bonds, there's little or no risk of loss of your capital, except the lender is unable to pay you. So if that fund is buying bonds, more of the bonds are just going to be paying you returns, but they are less likely to go down in value compared to stocks. So you might see what will happen, Migdalia, when you're 40, is buying more of stocks. You might allocate it based on 70-30, 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds. Now, when you're 40, when you're 50, maybe it goes the other way. It increases the allocation to bonds and reduces the allocation to stocks. Maybe by the time you hit 60 years, you might end up having just 20% in stocks and 80% in bonds. Again, I'm giving you rough numbers, but those target date funds, they are set up in that way to reduce your risk, so that by the time you're nearing retirement, you're taking less risk and you're likely to have more money in your pocket. So that might work for someone who doesn't want any hands-on approach. They don't want any investment. They don't want any time to put in any time in it. The downside is that sometimes when you're about to retire, you might have some extra cash and you might prefer to keep investing. But if it's making an automatic decision, it doesn't know that. It just knows that Migdalia is retiring and it wants to put more of your money in bonds. Okay, does that make sense now?
Yeah, it makes sense now. And
Okay.
with, is there like the difference? I was reading into, I was like watching and reading on one of your on your website that, you know, that a few of them, you know, there's difference on the fee, difference on the you know, on the type of investment included within the SIP into the SIP. And is there any one that you prefer more over the others? Let's say like more Vanguard or invest engine than others, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a very decent question again. But before I answer that, can I check with you, Chi? The explanation, did you get it?
Me, myself.
No, Chi, you're asking me to explain the last point.
Oh, hi, sorry, Andy. Are you referring to me?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I understand, but what I want to clarify, I think I understand what you said. What I want to clarify is that the person that is making these automatic decisions is the basket that you've bought and is the age you set by yourself. Okay, cool. That's it. I
correct.
understand.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So just to make sure we're all still on the same page, there are two things I've said. One is you can invest by yourself, make the decision by yourself. That's the goal. That's the point. If you've done investment masterclass, you should know what you're doing. You'll be able to set your investment. And you don't need to be checking it. I don't go and check my investment every day. I might check every quarter, but it's not something you have to be checking every day. That's number one. Number two, you can just buy a basket. For instance, you can get like let's say a basket, basically, which will just you know, the point of the basket will be to help you to make those automatic decisions without you having to think about it. There's the third option, which I'm not a big fan of, basically, because that third option is like you pay somebody and they manage your money for you. So that could be an option. You can pay somebody and they manage your money for you. Most of the platform provide that option as well, and they charge you more money for that. Basically, when it comes to investment, if you are doing a well-diversified, broad index fund, you're not doing anything special. Basically, you're just investing your money. You're just hoping for the market to carry your money and grow it. So you're taking less risk. You're going to end up with the same returns as everyone else. You're going to be average, and average is very good because 99% of full-time expert professional investors don't even beat the average returns. I've written an article on that. Okay, so these are the three options. Number one, you can invest by yourself. This applies to both SIP and stock and shares ISA. You can invest by yourself. You can invest through like an already made basket, that's the target date fund. Number three, you can pay the platform to get people to manage your funds for you. Number three, I think, is the worst, and that's where people like financial advisors and all the rest of them, they charge you money and they charge you 1%, 2%, which I think is a bit of a scam. Because if you charge me 1%, it's not a scam anyway because they didn't force anybody. But if you charge me 1%, then check what that 1% will be compounded over 20 years. For today, it looks like 1%. But by the time you put in 100, Sonia doesn't like it at all. I can see the way she's shaking her head. I wish everyone had their
I think
camera
it's
on.
nice and up there.
I love it, Sonia. I love it.
I leave it like this.
So there's a lot of compounding that happens. You don't know. Over time, there's a calculator. Probably I'll build another calculator for us to use it to calculate how much those fees will cost you. It might actually cost you 1 extra year of work because you're just paying somebody 1%. You might think it's 1% of 100,000, but next is 1% of 120,000. Next is 1% of 140,000. That you eventually pay quite a lot. I've seen some that charge 3%, and it's very funny because some of our big medical organizations are recommending them. A lot of time they are restricted advisors as well. All right. Let me not go into all of that, but basically you understand the three options to invest. Migdalia, does it make sense?
Yes, more clear now with a SIP.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Right, what I'm gonna do before the end of the video, I think I've got some videos on investing, but there's also this investment jargon buster. It's a free guide I've done. You know, when we talk about S&P 500 bonds and all those things, sometimes they make it seem so complex. It's not complex. I've done a jargon buster. I will find it before the end of the session, and some of you that read my email, you might already have it. It will explain all these terms. For instance, we hear guilt, you know. Adana said, oh my God, I just understood the compounding charges. Adana, do you mind just telling us back what you understood about the compounding charges? It seems like suddenly like a flash of brilliance. Anybody that understands it doesn't want to pay fees anymore. What did you get from it? Do you want to share? All right, don't worry.
I
Oh yeah,
just
okay.
no, I just realized that one of my investments with Hargreaves Lansdowne, they're charging me a remarkable amount percentage. I didn't really bother about it too
How
much
about
until now. I just understood it just now when he said it. If because I looked at it and I'm like, okay, it's not too much. But if I look at the grand scheme of things and over time, it's actually going to be lost. So I
it's
think I need to do
massive?
something about that. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
massive.
yeah.
Well,
It
you're
will
in the
be a loss.
community.
Yeah,
It's massive. You're
it
in the
will be a
community.
loss.
I'll share the calculator. Maybe I'll email it out as well, so you guys can calculate for yourself. Now,
Yeah.
here's the deal. Some advisors, financial advisors, because that's what they're paid to do. You can now tell that I'm not that I don't have big fans in the financial advisor community, but I don't write my content for them. I write it for doctors. Some financial advisors who say, but the person might get a better return for you by investment. So the question is, are they really getting a better return? Because if we check it, all right, so last year I got 78% return, but I manage my own money. So I'm not taking it. Any risk I take is for myself, but I'm not like a massive pension investor, and I also don't take people's money to manage for them. The average financial advisor, if you go and check, I've done an article on it, but don't take my article. Look at the data. 99% of active investors perform worse than the S&P 500 over time. So if you check it, what are they doing in addition that makes them to be able to charge that money? It's just the difference is just what you know and what you don't know. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's why I say if you can put in like 4 hours to learn how to invest, if you can put in 24 hours is too small, but if you put in 20 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours over 4 weeks or thereabout, learn how to invest. It's a skill you can use for your whole life, basically. And that saves you quite a bit of money. And even if you're not, you don't have to be like an investment, like you don't need to be any guru or anything. Even just knowing how to click here, click there, put my money in index fund. As long as you understand asset allocation, risk management, how much should you be putting in stocks, how much should you put in bonds. Well, I like that. I like that the way the penny dropped and you didn't want to wait. They're like, what? Who's taking my money? I'm sure that Hargreaves Lansdowne, wherever, they're not going to be happy when they say this, but well, you deserve to know it's your money. Right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to crack on because we've gone from SIPP and entered investing, but there are a few more questions. I'll take a couple more questions, then I'll go to the parking lot and answer some questions. Someone said, oh, the link is not working. I'm sure my team will sort that out, or I'll send it out in the mail later. Someone said, can you have sorry, I'm just trying to get out the questions here. What's the difference between stock ISA and SIPP? That's a very useful question. I'm glad you guys are answering some of these questions because it reduces some of the things we're going to have to deal with later. So can you, the difference between stock ISA and SIPP is quite a lot. Basically, remember your stock and shares ISA, you've got £20,000 allowance. The maximum you can put in all your ISAs for the year is £20,000. Is that clear now? Because some of you were saying 40,000 in the quiz at the beginning. Is it clear to everybody? Just give me a thumbs up if you know it's 20,000 that you can put in your stock and shares ISA. Okay, thank you. So that includes all your ISAs. If you've got like lifetime ISA, If you've got like stock and shares ISA, if you've got cash ISA, then all of it, the maximum you can put in a tax year is 20,000. Is that clear? That bit is clear, right? Now the SIPP, on the other hand, is your pension. The maximum you can put in your pension, all your pension, including your NHS pension, salary sacrifice, or even if you worked elsewhere, the total you can put in is £20,000. So there's a difference in amount. Now there's a difference in your style of when you can access the money. Your stock and shares ISA, you can decide to close it now and take out all your money. You just sell the shares and that's it. Your SIPP, you cannot access because it's pension. You cannot get it till you're 50. What age? Can you get your SIPP?
57, I think.
57. Okay. Well, Ruben, thank you.
57 from
It used to be
from
55.
4 years time.
Okay, Ruben is in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Ruben and Ada. So it's still 55.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's still 55, but I think you're correct because before any of us get to 57, I don't think anyone here is 57. And if you're 57 and you're on this call, you're looking really good. You share with me your secret to youth. But 57 is the new, they will change it in 2028 to 57 years. Yeah, but for now it's 55. So that's the
Hopefully,
time
we'll remain at 57. Hopefully, remain at 57 by the time we reach that time.
fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed.
Because they may
But
still increase it.
they might increase it, to be honest, that's the thing, but they are less likely to increase it like the NHS pension. So what the NHS pension for you and for me is 68 years. That's when you can get it. 8 years. But for SIPP, it's 55 or 57 later on. State pension, I think, is 60 years. So these are some of the differences. With stock and shares ISA, you can get it anytime you want. You're totally in charge of it, but the maximum you can put in is 20K. Now, there are other differences between stock and shares ISA and SIPP. In stock and shares ISA, remember, you're paying into your stock and shares ISA with your money that has already been taxed. There's no tax relief on it. You've already made the money, you've paid taxes on it. It's so nice when people have their camera on because I'm seeing them nodding and I'm understanding that it's making sense. So stock and shares ISA, you've already paid tax on it and that money has already been taxed. Then you invest. So you're not getting, the government is not being your daddy in that case. The government is not doing anything for you. However, any money you invest through the stock and shares ISA, no matter the returns you get on it, there's no tax on it. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So if you invest money with your stock and shares ISA, even if you turn out, let's say you invested 20K and then over 20 years it grows to be 400K, normally you should have been paying tax on it. It's called capital gains tax. So if you invest in the stock market, and some of you who read my previous email just before the Halloween budget, you know the day I said I was selling all my shares that was not in ISA. That was because they were about to raise the tax, and I sold all those shares. The next 2 days they increased the taxes. So there's something called capital gains tax. And some of the words you mentioned when I said, how does tax make you feel at the beginning? Some of you said annoying, different things. Now, when you become an investor, there's one more tax called capital gains tax. If you invest money in the stock market, if you make any money, the government owns a percentage of that. It's even higher if it's residential property. If you are selling a property, you pay 24% on residential property as well, capital gains tax. So these are taxes that you pay if you make a profit. Now, with an ISA account, if you make a profit or not, if you make a capital gains, you don't pay any tax on it. So any money you put into that ISA is tax-free. So that's why I say before you start investing, don't just invest in a regular account, invest through an ISA until you've exhausted your ISA allowance, which is what amount? Can somebody help me? How much is the ISA allowance?
20,000.
20,000. Lillian, what a superstar. You just joined and you're already giving us great responses. Yeah, thank you. Now, basically, capital gains tax will not apply on whatever is in your ISA. But in your SIPP, it's altogether different. You're already getting the pension tax relief because you're allowed to put up to 60,000 in a year tax-free. So if you put in money, that's including your workplace pension. If you invest through your SIPP, as if the government is contributing money for you to invest with, because they would have taken out that money from your taxes as taxes, but they didn't take out that money either through your workplace pension or you claim it back through your self-assessment. So it's as if the government actually contributed to your investment pot. So does that make it clear in terms of SIPP versus ISA? Lovely.
Quick question. Now that you mentioned, you say, let's say if someone gets above 100K, let's say 105K, you
Yes.
can put, if you don't have NHS pension, you can put that 5K extra into your SIPP, and then in your self-assessment return, you explain, oh, I have put like this 5K as part of my on my SIPP, isn't it? And that works.
That is bang on. Exactly. I think you've gotten it now. So they're going to give you relief, like they're going to give you relief at the marginal rate. So that extra money you put into your pension, you get tax relief on it. It's even different, Migdalia. If you're like Adahia, if you've got a limited company, like me as well, you can just pay directly from your limited company and pay into your pension, or you can pay from your limited company into your personal account and then pay from your personal account into your SIPP.
Yeah.
Remember, with limited company, you spend money first and then you pay taxes. So that will be counted as an expense.
Fair enough. No, like the reason I gave up on the NHS is just because I'm not considering to stay in the UK forever. And then I say, okay, what is the point of being on the NHS? I may need to go back because, you know, it's just like, otherwise you get taxed, you know, more for not.
Where do you plan to go back to? Is it, can you take me?
Yeah.
Is it warm?
I'm planning an easy life after 50, 40.
Where are you going to then? Okay, if you feel comfortable, share it.
Lot of sun, and I can get vitamin D a lot, you know.
Ooh. How lush. All right, thank you so much for making us all jealous. Yeah, so basically NHS pension, that's a different discussion, because some people say they pull out of the NHS pension because they're not sure they're going to leave UK. I'm like, but you haven't left, right? So if you're a salaried person, are you in a salaried job?
Again,
Are you in a salaried job?
yeah, I'm in a salary job. I work as a senior resh, yeah, in neurosurgery.
Yeah, what it means, Migdalia, is that your employer is not contributing to your pension, so you are the only one who is actually contributing to your pension. So if you're in the NHS, and of course, I'm not making a case for staying in the NHS pension, but I'm just telling you what you miss out. Basically, you find one of those my videos, NHS pension, what you should do, what you should consider before you leave. So your employer is supposed to be paying you some more money, you know, and they're paying you now, and they should pay you for your future. So they're only paying you now. They're not paying you for your future. They're supposed to be contributing to your NHS pension.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you're not in the NHS pension, you are paying more tax because more of your money is coming to you. And guess what? That gives HMRC more access to tax you a bit more. But if more of your money has got, some of your money has gone to NHS pension, then that's not accessible to HMRC.
Yeah.
Tax a bit like, it's like money and tax is like a fish. A fish in the water that is below surface is a bit harder to shoot or to get or to hook or whatever. Once it comes up, it's easier to catch. The same with money. If your money has gone from your employer to your NHS pension or salary sacrifice, it's not yet come to the surface. It cannot be taxed. The same thing if you run a limited company, you're running some expenses. I'll give you an example. You run a limited company, you claim your GMC, you claim maybe your company needs an electric car. I'm sure some of you already know this. You can buy an electric car for your company as long as your company needs it and you can show it. You pay through that. It's still expensive. There's no tax on that. Let's say you hire an admin, like so you need an admin to help you for your work. You pay them cash. It's still expenses. It's when you make a dividend, it comes to the surface. That's what you get taxed on. The same thing with you. So I think you should really think carefully about this NHS pension thing, because in addition, there's also death in service benefit and also things like a disability allowance. I'm not saying that NHS pension is perfect, but I'm like, if I was a salaried doctor I'll be in NHS pension basically because I want them to be paying me both ways. Have a think about it. I can see UD has kindly posted that video. Should I leave the NHS pension or should I opt out? Have a read about it. And of course, if there's something you're not sure, even if it's not answered in this session, if you put it in the parking lot, or you can ask directly under the video or blog or wherever you read it. I know you send me quite a few messages. I do try to reply, but I'm not very good with DMs now because sometimes you've got like 67 in a day. So
Can
I've got
I
a
say
life,
something to Mitali
but
regarding NHS
thank you
pension?
so much. Yeah, sorry, Chi, you're saying?
Yeah, I said, can I say something to Mitali regarding NHS pension?
Yeah, of course.
Even if you're not going to be here in the UK, later on, any money you've paid into your NHS pension, when you get to the pensionable age, you're still able to claim that money going forward. So you can also look at it as money you've put in a bank somewhere that you cannot touch until you get to pension age. So it's actually still not a waste. You can claim it going forward. That's what I wanted to say. So I think it's just, so long as NHS pension still is viable at that time and they've not changed things or changed the goalpost, I think it's still worth doing it. That's my own take on it.
You can see me being in pride. Yeah, so actually that's just the fact, right? She's a consultant here in the NHS and she's also been through our masterclass. So basically, also, even if you move to another country, how many of us know somebody in another country that is getting money from their pension in the UK? Just
Me,
if you want
I
to,
know
yeah,
a few. Yeah.
someone. Every one of us, I know people who are actually getting money. They've actually left the NHS and they're still getting money. Yeah, I think we've got a couple of questions here. Chi, your hand has been raised. Chidiogo and Kingsley. We'll just take those questions, then we'll go to the parking lot and look at some of the questions there. Chi, do you want to go first, Chidiogo?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, when you're collecting the pension at the end, whether
Oh,
the NHS pension or SIP, it will be taxed, I suppose, isn't it? So
yes.
even though you're saving, you're not being taxed now, but at the end, it will still be taxed.
That is a very important question, and I'll address it in two ways. One, do you want to be taxed now, or do you want to be taxed in the future?
In the future,
In the future, why? Just tell me why. Why would you want to be taxed in the future, not now?
well, hopefully, well, I need more money now. Like by then, I
One,
have less expenses, I guess. So
that's brilliant. Okay, what else? Adana hinted at something some around the time. There's one word she said. She was referring to something else. She was referring to fees.
The compounding interest over time.
Compounding, that's fantastic. So compounding can work against you, can work for you. Like your compound is working against you at Dana because you're being charged fees and it's compounding against you. But the same thing, if you're delaying charging me pension, what's happening? Instead of the NHS instead of the HMRC to take out that tax, let's say the tax you're going to be taxed is 40% or whatever, and someone mentioned want to be paid in the future so that she can avoid the 60% tax trap. So that is also a brilliant reason, Stephanie. Thank you for mentioning it. But one big reason is compounding. Let's say that you've got like 40% coming out every year now. That 40% that is not being taken, or let's say 20% that the HMRC is giving you relief in, what is it doing? It's going back into your investment. It's compounding into your future. It's going back into your investment. It's compounding into your future. I'll give you some numbers. Let's say you're getting like 100K in a year, HMRC charges you 40%, and then maybe on the other hand, someone else is not getting that same tax. So you have 60,000 left at the end of the year. The other person has 100,000. Next year, you are investing your 60,000. I'm assuming you didn't take out any money. Next year, invest 60,000. Guess what I'm investing? 100,000. Let's say the next year again, let's say our 100,000. Let's just assume that we are both of equal ability and we are lucky and the money doubles. Your money goes from 60,000 to 120,000. Mine goes from 100,000 to 200,000. Guess what? Your money is 120,000. Guess who wants 40%? The tax man. And they're able to get 40% of 120,000 out. I don't want to do public maths, but I believe that should be about 48,000. Is that correct? 48,000, that's 40% they're taking out. That's 12 by 4. 40% goes out again. So you're ending up with 120,000 minus 48,000, whatever that amount is. And that's the amount you've got to invest for the next year. Meanwhile, what do I have? I have my whole 200,000. So it's like you're on the back foot all the time. Let's do that over 20 years. You're going to be far away from where I am. Compounding is hard for the human brain to comprehend. That's why calculators are good. So that's why I want to pay my tax in the future. Not just because I need the money now, but I want to pay the tax if possible. If somebody says, let me pay tax in the future, even in the US, they've got a special tax in real estate. They call it the 1035 exchange. So you can buy a house, rather when you sell a house, rather than pay tax on it, you just use all the money from that house, buy a bigger house, and then you don't pay any tax. You just keep deferring the tax. Maybe before you die, you might now have like an estate, and then that's when you want to pay tax on it. That's when people then donate it to a trust and then never pay tax on it. But let's just keep it simple. If you pay tax in the future, that means the government is your daddy. The government is giving you part of the tax they should have collected from now, giving it to you to invest for your future. That's why we want to pay, even if there's pension you can pay in the end. Now, the big question is, do you really pay that tax in the end? I think Emeka and I chatted about this. Emeka is in the Mastermind, is a GP. Many people who actually structure their finances very well, because in the UK, it's information. They eventually don't pay a lot of that tax. Why? Because when you withdraw your pension at the end, 25% you can withdraw tax-free. Again, this is going a bit deeper into things, but most people get something called a lump sum. And if you withdraw 25%, imagine that at the end, your SIPP payout is £1 million. Or let's just say £400,000. You can take out 100,000 tax-free. And then the next year, if you want to withdraw, you're going to be now taxed as if that's your income. So any money you're withdrawing after that is like your income. Guess what? Some people will be withdrawing £12,570, which is basically my salary now as a director of a company, and it's tax-free. Adana, it sounds like that's your salary as well. You're smiling. Basically, so some other people withdraw 50K to keep their taxes at 20%. Some people might not need to withdraw more than 12,570 because guess what? Just because you have 57 doesn't mean you don't have other income. You might still have income coming in from your other investments or from work if you're still working. But again, that's where tax planning comes in. So I'd rather discuss about paying those taxes in the future. That's one advantage of SIPP. I hope that makes sense, Chidiogo.
Yes, thank you very much.
Lovely. And you had a question. Casey, did you still have a question or?
No, I think it's been answered along the line. So that's
lovely. Thank you so much. Can I just ask you guys, I'm not trying to be a pain, but it just makes the session to flow better. If you go to the parking lot and just put your name next to your question, because now I'm seeing the questions and I don't really know who has the question or whatever. Don't worry, we're using this parking lot thing for the first time, so we're figuring it out. So if you put a question in the parking lot, just put your name there, and in the meantime, I'm just going to answer a few other questions here. Okay, so that's a lot on SIPP already. Believe you me, there's so much more we could deal with on SIPP, but just because we've got limited time, if you read the guide, if you're not clear on any questions, email me or write on the blog or YouTube video, or if you're in the community, obviously, we have the masterclass. You can always ask questions in your one-on-one session or in the group sessions. Yes, here's something quick and useful. If you ever wonder what your actual take-home pay is, after taxes, NI, pension deductions, or you just not sure how paying more into your pension will affect your take-home pay, our free NHS salary calculator will give you a clear, instant breakdown. It's perfect for planning your finances, checking deductions, or even spotting overpayments, and helping you determine how any changes in your pension contributions can affect your take-home pay. You want to make sure you're taking enough home. Now, it's easy to use and it's tailored for NHS professionals like you. You can try it now for free on nhsSalaryCalculator.com. So it's nhsSalaryCalculator.com. The link is in the description. Now, let's dive right back into the episode. Right, so the ISA allowance is, I think Blessing's asking, is the ISA allowance 20K maximum, and does it also compound? So your ISA, you're allowed £20,000 per tax year. That's the maximum you can put in the tax year. And can somebody help me out here, please? When does the tax year start?
April.
April 5th.
Okay.
6th to 6th.
Two good answers. Finally, third one. Correct.
6th
Thank you.
April. It's the
Thank you,
6th of
everyone.
April. Yeah.
6th of April. Okay, that's good.
No, 6th of April.
Number 6. That's important. 6. Thank you. So the taxes start on. So all the questions, I may miss your question if you are typing it in the box. Put it in the parking lot and put your name. We'll come to it. So the taxes starts on April 6. It ends April 5. So your ISA allowance is April to April, from April 6 to April 5. If you miss your SIPP, for instance, if you just heard about SIPP and your tax allowance and all that, your SIPP, your pension allowance, if you feel, oh, I've missed this thing, I've not been contributing, you can do carry forward. There's something called carry forward. You can still claim for 3 years back. So that's something some people do, especially like I've got like some consultants that are working in London in Harley Street. They made some big private practice money. They're thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Some of them are able to do carry forward. Okay. Then, but when it comes to ISA, it's use it or lose it. If you don't use it in that tax year, it's gone. You can't come back and use it again. So many people only find out after April 5. Once April 5 passes, you can't use that ISA again. So that's why it's really important to understand ISAs clearly. Now, ISAs themselves, the maximum you can put in a tax year is £20,000. Okay. Now, how do you distribute this £20,000? If you're still a young dude, like I can see Kingsley in the picture, you know, full of energy, life, and you're less than 40 years. I'm less than 40 years, but I'm almost there. Okay, if you're less than 40 years, you can use the lifetime ISA. So the lifetime ISA allows you to put up to £4,000 in a tax year. So if you put up to £4,000 in a tax year, the government gives you an extra £1,000 tax-free, a bonus for you. Basically, 25% of what you put in the lifetime ISA, the government can actually give you 25% of that. So basically, that's a lifetime ISA for you. So that lifetime ISA is still part of your whole ISA allowance. Okay? And that bit is clear. Now, the lifetime ISA can only be used for 2 things: buying your first home or investing for retirement. Okay? That bit is clear. Good. Now, one thing to remember is that if you buy a house above £450,000, then you can't use the lifetime ISA. If you live in London, or if you live in the Southwest like me, these are the things you need to keep an eye on. If you buy a house that's above 450K, you can't use it to buy, you can't use the lifetime ISA. However, you can use the lifetime ISA for retirement. And as long as as far as the lifetime ISA is concerned, retirement age is what age? Can somebody help me out here?
60.
60 years.
60.
60. Thank you, Adina. So are you seeing retirement is not retirement? Like there are different ages for retirement. So if you come to sleep, you're talking 55, you're talking 57. Lifetime ISA, we're talking 60. State pension is 60. NHS pension is 68. So when someone says retirement, ask them what retirement in particular are you talking about? And of course, for some of you as well, you're aiming to retire far earlier than that, like 50, 56, 50, different ages. So not everyone wants to retire at the same time. So that's with the ISA. Now, I've only talked about the lifetime ISA. It's just one of the ISAs. There are 4 of them. I think 3 of them are relevant here, so I'm going to talk about those 3. Lifetime ISA, maximum you can do is 4K. One ISA hack, if you're married or if you've got a partner, you can each do 4K each, and you still get like the 1,000, both of you. And you can use it towards buying your first home. Because if you leave the UK, you can't contribute more to the ISA. And once you cross 50 years of age, you can't put more money to the ISA. The big mistake many people are doing is after they buy their first house, they don't realize they can still use the lifetime ISA to invest towards retirement and also get that extra £1,000 from the government. So they stop. The second big mistake that will be what this session for you, if you already have a lifetime ISA, is that a lot of people leave their lifetime ISA in cash. I mean, if I'm buying my first house, then I want to leave my lifetime ISA in cash. I don't want to put it in the market. I don't know, the market goes up and down. You know, it might be that when I need it to buy my house, the market is down. But if you bought your first house and you're now looking at retirement and you're only 40 or 41 or 38 or whatever age you are, then you're probably looking at another 20 years. If you leave your money lying around in cash, then inflation basically just sort of like messes you up, isn't it? Because the inflation, your money is not growing faster than inflation. The value of that money is going to be far less than what it is in 20 years' time. So in my case, my lifetime ISA is not in cash, it's in stock and shares. So don't confuse it with stock and shares ISA, which is the next one I'll tell you about. So I told you about the lifetime ISA, and there are two types: the lifetime ISA cash and the lifetime ISA stock and shares. Lifetime ISA, any type, you can't open it above 40, so you want to do it before you're 40. If you're above 40, that doesn't mean you can have an ISA, but you can't have the lifetime ISA. You can have other types of ISA. Is there any confusion on that so far? Just on that point. Okay, please.
It's not a confusion, just a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
So you did mention like still using the LISA even after using it for mortgage, so you can still keep contributing. And you just use yourself as an example that instead of just leaving it there as cash, you rather put it into stock. So, you know, like, so you can still make a profit on its own rather than inflation creeping in on the cash you've left there.
Yes.
So now, does that mean that after each financial year, you take the money out and put into stock, or how do you move that from LISA to stock, if that makes sense?
Okay, that's a very good question. So basically, if the same way you deal with any investment account, if you have a lifetime ISA, once you buy your first house, you notify the platform that you want to change from lifetime ISA cash to lifetime ISA stock and shares. If they don't have lifetime ISA stock and shares, you can just ask them to move it to another platform that provide lifetime ISA stock and shares. And again, thank you for that's a very important question, because it links to Blessing's question. It says, what happens to the money after putting it in? Is it being invested by the ISA people? I like how you think that there are some ISA people. That's so cute. Yeah, but that's a very relevant question, because Blessing, a lot of people are making the same mistake in the UK. They just put their money in the ISA and think it's working for them. No, ISA is just like a tax wrapper. It's just a tax protector. And that ISA doesn't invest your money for you. It just means that if you put in money through that ISA, you can invest it without any taxes based on your returns, including your dividends and your capital gains. Yeah, thank you for that question. But if you ask me, how do you invest your ISA? I'll take you back to what we already explained. That came from Migdala's question. How do you invest? You can invest by yourself if you know what you're doing. You can buy broad, well-diversified index fund or individual stocks, depending on your skills, or bonds or whatever. You can buy into a pot or target date fund that actually you invest with a goal. You set your goal for investing, or you can pay somebody to invest your money, which is the one I'm not a big fan of. All right. Okay. Now, I think some people have actually put down their name on the parking lot. I'm just going to look at some of the questions there and answer.
Sorry, please, can I ask the question before we go to the parking lot?
Okay, sure. Go for it.
See any Thank you.
Parking lot?
Yeah, so my question is still bordering on this ISA, because I'm just very green to all these investment things, and I don't really know much about it, but I want to know. So, like my bank, for instance, Monzo, there was a time it was advertised ISA stocks and stuff like that, and I think I went for, there's this one they called ISA stocks and shares. So what I do is I throw in my small pennies as like monthly into the pot. It's called an investment pot. So I don't really understand. Is it that the money is not working in the pot? The money is not working at all for me. I need to invest it personally, or because I'm looking at the pot now and I'm seeing that they said up by so percent things investing. So like in this case, is it the bank that is investing this my own ISA, or I'm a bit confused, because I was thinking that as I have this stocks and shares ISA account with bonds, so that they're investing for me. So I just need for clarification on that.
Thank you. That's a relevant question. A lot of people are confused about things like that as well. Monzo, if you've indicated for them to invest for you, they will invest for you, but you're not in control. You don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You don't know
Okay.
if they're investing in your own interest. A lot of times people also say, well, if you have that sort of strategy, you will not be bold enough to invest as well as you should. For instance, part of what we teach in the Mastermind is that you should be looking to invest 15 to 20% of your income so that you can get quickly to your financial destiny, your freedom. If you're looking to achieve financial freedom at the point where your passive income pays for your life, you can't just put in £20 now, £10 there, because that's what you do because you're not sure of what they are doing. But if you're following the steps, you've saved your emergency fund, and you have your emergency fund in place, you have your income protection, you have your life insurance, and you've done those 7 things. I don't know, can someone from my team share that resource? 7 things you need to do before you start investing. So you guys can download it, look at it. If you have those things in place, like some of you here have, especially those of you I'm seeing that I've had a one-on-one sessions with, if you've gotten to that point, then you start investing more thoughtfully, investing with more intention. Then you'll not just be putting like any penny or anything because you know that you have a clear plan. Now, regarding investing, Monzo, I don't know which package you've got, but most of the banks will offer you some sort of investment. Let us invest your money. A lot of it is absolute garbage. A lot of it, why? Because basically, like there are fees that are hidden there. They're getting the same returns as S&P 500 or the broad market index. Sometimes they are doing worse. The question is, why don't you check and find out if your bank is doing better? I doubt it, than the general market. Are the fees justified? Again, we are limited in time, but basically this is what we delve into for 4 weeks for the masterclass, which is part of the mastermind. We're saying master too much time here, but basically you need to get a good grasp of it. And once you have the knowledge, you could be able to navigate things around. If you ask me what should be the next step I think you should do, Blessing, is to go and look at your bank fees. Check how much of the fees they are charging you on that platform. Akadana just checked and said, oh, it's compound, and Hargreaves Lansdowne has been around for a while. Check what are the fees are they charging you, and maybe just ask them, why are we charging these fees? If they tell you it's because we're investing your money, ask them, are you doing better than the market average? You know, and it will be interesting to hear what they say. They're going to speak a lot of grammar, but again, maths don't lie. You can talk about anything with a lot of words, but maths don't lie. Okay, right. Okay, before
This master class, because I'm really interested in learning things. This master class you talk about, what does it entail?
Right. You the people in my team, you can share. There's a waiting list now. Unfortunately, the mastermind is now full. I know it sounds unfair because some of you are hearing about it for the first time. But also there are people that have been waiting for it. So when I released the list earlier, we're planning to launch it in January, and we'll release the list in December. Wanted to do the deal with 20 doctors, and we had 181. Today is 189 people on the waiting list. If you share the list, there's a waiting list now for the mastermind. I've decided to open 5 extra slots. Basically, 1, because of the number of people on the waiting list, and 2, I've hired 2 staff. So because I've got like staff now helping me, before I thought, well, I can manage 20 people. What it entails is, 1, you'll be part of a private group. And that private group, basically, you work with me for the next 12 months, learn how to invest, you learn how to manage your taxes in a structured way, and you have other people in the group as well. I'll just give you an example. One of the people in the group is Vanessa. Vanessa used to be an investment banker. She's now a doctor, and she's been following me on LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm not teaching her anything new on investing. Her own need is in taxes, how to optimize her taxes. And of course, we've got other people in the mastermind. We've got like Kingsley here, who is an excellent senior physiotherapist, who's learning how to invest, learning how to master his taxes and all the rest of it. So the mastermind will involve a 4 weeks investment masterclass where we go through investing, assets, stocks, bonds, different things, understand their risk. We're not going to talk about it just like that. We're going to practicalize it. You're going to open your account. And the mastermind will also involve 4 sessions, one-on-one sessions with me, We're not going to do that 4 sessions again in a mastermind, basically because it consumes all my time. If I meet with 20 people 4 times in a year, that means 80 sessions, 80 hours. So that's the mastermind. It also involves things like basically the classes. So we've got apart from investment masterclass, we've got a class in March that is called Before the Tax Year Ends. It's called the Tax X-ray session, because we want to sort of like check, is there any way I'm missing taxes? And it's 20-25 people, so we can get quite detailed about it to check, are you using all your ISA? Are you claiming tax relief? Have you used up your SIPP? Is there any way you're missing taxes? Have you spent what you can spend from a limited company? So that's part of the mastermind. And in addition to that, obviously you'll be a member of the private group. The private group where we discuss things that I used to say they're a bit too hot to discuss publicly, because none of it is illegal, but sometimes people misunderstand stuff. So that's what the mastermind is for. If you're interested in the mastermind, what I'll say is you should join the waiting list. Probably the sessions are starting tomorrow evening. So the first session is tomorrow evening. It's just a welcome introductory sessions. But already some people in the mastermind have already done their one-to-one session. I think I've met with you, Kingsley. I've met with a few other people here. You're going to have 4 in a year. So basically, that's what the mastermind is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Lovely. Right. So I'm just going to jump into the question. This session is not to talk so much about the mastermind, because it's already kind of like we've got like 20 people. It's already full. 2 more people joined this week, basically, because they sent me so many DMs and they said they were interested. They said they didn't hear about it. They say it went to their spam. So I opened up 5 more slots. So now I've got 3 of those slots left. So I didn't want to talk so much about the mastermind in the session. I know I mentioned it, but the waiting list is there. You do share the waiting list or the barcode. Anyone that wants to sort of like go, and you have to take a quiz. Not everyone that applied got in, because there's a minimum that we need. We need to get that sort of like, be sure that you're a right fit for the mastermind. So if you see the link to the score app, you can take the quiz and then join the waiting list. You could also share the group. I mean, if you're not able to get through to the quiz or you don't hear anything, you can send a message through the group. We've got like a group. You can actually send me a message through the WhatsApp link. Right. Well, Blessed, I hope that helps. Right. Okay. So the one of the questions here, someone asked, what is the difference between SIPP and salary sacrifice? Okay. Whose question is that? SIPP and salary sacrifice.
So
That was you. Okay, Obe, thank you. So
we had one more question, because we're still on this. So when you were talking about the lifetime ISA, you've already bought your house, so you can't do that. So, but you now want to start investing, like you said. Would the government still be giving you 1,000 on the 4,000 maximum every year if it's an investment not for property anymore?
absolutely. If the lifetime ISA, you still get that £1,000. You get that 25%. So that's that part that most people don't realize. And guess what? The government doesn't go around and tell you about it. Nobody bothers, because if more people know, more people will get the money. Yes, so you can still continue to get that £1,000 and you can be using it to invest. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, that's clear. Thank
Lovely.
you.
I know we're running over a little bit. I told my people I'll be finishing by 10, but I can stay till 10:30 so I can crush through some of the questions. We've got another 15 minutes to go. Right. So you asked about the difference between salary sacrifice and the difference in salary sacrifice and SIPP. So salary sacrifice is basically in your workplace. You can be contributing it to your extra money to your NHS pension. Who has done a salary sacrifice here? Has anyone done a salary sacrifice before? Okay.
I have.
You have. Okay. You have. So what did you use it to buy? Car?
Nothing. I was just saying.
All right.
Like,
So yeah, the wisest salary sacrifice I've seen. Most people do salary sacrifice to buy a big car, and that's not bad. I like cars. I have a nice one as well. I think my own is not that bad. But salary sacrifice is basically you want to pay more into your pension. And for some people, they want to pay more to buy a car. I know at some point, whether RCGP was doing Volvo, I'm like, yeah, this is salary sacrifice. Volvo is your future. Basically, but some other people can also say, no, I want to sacrifice more of my salary into my pension, and that reduces the tax you have to pay. Remember what we explained earlier on. If more of your money goes into your pension, then there's less of it for the HMRC to tax. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to move on to the next one because there's quite a few questions to deal with.
Sorry, I need to interrupt. So
yeah.
that salary sacrifice, if you're like in NHS, that sacrifice, that extra you're paying is not private pension. It's NHS pension is going into.
It's going into NHS pension for full.
Okay.
For sure.
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also,
Now,
decide in the amount that you want to sacrifice. Let's say, can I get it on Monday and say, I want you to sacrifice 2,000 from my salary next month, or this does like that?
Yes, you have to ask them, you have to ask them, and they can discuss it. And there's a maximum you can also sacrifice. You can't just decide, I want to put 100,000 in the salary sacrifice. It's going to be, no, you can't do that. Yeah, so you definitely have to discuss it with your pension administrator, basically. Okay. Right, I'm going to leave the barcode. Basically, if you point your phone at it, is the barcode. I've not done it myself, but I'm trusting that my team have got the barcode correctly. Is the barcode. If you point at it, it should take you to the page. For those of you who are interested in sort of like being considered for the masterclass, if not, don't worry about it. We just continue. Oh yeah, that's the barcode. That's a waiting list to the barcode. Right. So the next question was about, I think someone sent in a question. He asked about stock and shares ISA. Is stock and shares ISA easily accessible for cash if needed? Absolutely, yes. You can get it anytime you want. Okay. And then someone says, I need to disappear. Great information explanation so far. Yeah, there'll be recordings. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm just going to go back to the parking lot again. Someone said in your masterclass, you always suggest having 3 months salary before investing. If you don't have 3 months salary, but you have loose cash, can you not invest that? Okay, this is a very important question. I'm glad someone brought it up. Someone asked if you don't have your emergency fund. So I don't say you should have 3 months salary. No, it's not 3 months salary. I say you should have 3 months worth of living expenses. So your salary and your living expenses don't have to be the same. 3 months worth of living expenses. That's why I usually suggest that you should have as part of your emergency fund. So I said before you start investing, one of the 7 things is to have your emergency fund. Why? So that if the market goes down, you don't start getting jittery because you've got some money saved up. So why that is important is also if things like your boiler goes bad or your tire gets bust, you don't become unnecessarily stressed, because you have your emergency fund in place. So it's not 3 months worth of salary, it's 3 months worth of your living expenses, how much you need to live on. You need to save that money. And when you're saving that money, for those of you that have been in the masterclass or the mastermind, what sort of account should you be saving your emergency fund?
ISA.
Cash ISA. That's good. Thank you. So cash ISA. Why? So that you don't get taxed on it. Because many of you don't know there's a saving allowance in this country. If you save your money and you get interest above £500, especially if you're a higher tax rate payer, then you have to declare that money and pay tax on it. This is one mistake people are making. You're saving money in your regular savings account. You are incurring some interest, which is taxable, and you don't pay the tax. Don't worry. If you ever have any issue with HMRC, they will ask you for all your accounts. I'm not talking from what I've read. I've had instances where HMRC requested all my accounts and I sent it to them. In fact, just a few months ago, I sent all my accounts and I ended up, at first they thought I was owing £12,000. We ended up with how much? 0. That's the amount we ended up, because they go through your account. So if you've been saving money, you're getting interest, you're not paying, taxes because you're not declaring it in your self-assessment, not because you're hiding it, but you just don't know. What happens is that if there's any issue, HMRC is going to say, oh, you made enough interest on this, you didn't pay any tax, so now you have to pay a fine on that and also have to pay like an interest on the tax you've not paid. So compounding, working against you. So if you're going to save your emergency fund, save it in a cash ISA. A cash ISA. But don't make the other mistake people make. They save all their money in a cash ISA and they don't invest any of it. From my opinion, I feel like a cash ISA should just be for saving like an emergency fund or for projects or for things that you don't want to take any chance with the money. But if you're just saving money in a cash ISA, most people think, oh, this money is being invested. Oh, the money is not moving. No, a cash ISA is just a savings account where you don't pay tax on the interest. Okay. Right, so that's a good question. The other question I've got here, someone says, how do I apply for tax returns for gift allowance of 3,000? That was Steph. Thank you, Steph. Does anyone know the answer to that one? How do you tell HMRC that you spent money and you want it back? There's one way.
I think it's doing a self-assessment.
Self-assessment, Ruben. Thank you. Ruben answered that one for us. Right. Ruben, have you got a question that we've not answered?
Yeah. I've got on the parking lot.
Is it on the parking lot? Okay. I want to make sure because you've been here from the beginning and everyone has been here as well, but your camera is on. I'm seeing you. So what's the question? I'm going to go through all the parking lot. Don't worry. What's the question?
So my question really, number one, is maximizing the self-assessment. Yeah, all the expenses that, I feel I'm not kind of getting it all. And then also particularly with expenses on travel, what you use to calculate how much to put in there as travel expenses.
Excellent. I think I can help you with that. So if you go online, look for Google AA mileage calculator. AA mileage calculator. It helps you to calculate your mileage. And then HMRC, I think they're paying 40p. It's all in my tax relief guide. You can actually just calculate it. Secondly, you said you're not maximizing your self-assessment. I think so. Many doctors are not. What I'll suggest, a way to get around it, if you look for my guide, I think there's a guide on limited company. Limited companies can claim more things anyway, but there are a lot of things that limited companies claim that self-assessment can also claim. In fact, in March, when we do our tax x-ray session, we're going to be going into details. How that session will be, it will not just be me handing a list. It's going to be everyone bring your list of what you claim, and then we'll bring an accountant to the session. So that's how this masterclass thing goes. It's not like you can claim this, can claim that. No, you bring your list of what you claim. I'll tell you what I've been claiming for the last 10 years. No, not 10 years, because I didn't start working in the NHS till 2017. But I'll show you what I've been claiming. You get access to my list. We check out the list. Oh, I've not been claiming this. For instance, most people miss claiming charity. If you're giving money to your church, you're giving money to Salvation Army, you're giving money to your mosque, those are charity that can be claimed. A lot of people don't claim things like if you replace your stethoscope, people don't claim, if you attend a course, if you attend a CPD, a lot of times self-assessment is limited, actually. Limited company can claim much, but there's a lot of things people don't claim in self-assessment. So part of the tax x-ray session is to say, look, we don't want to miss a penny. We're going to go through all of this. So these are a few things you can actually claim. Sometimes as well, there are things like in self-assessment, you can claim charity. Someone has mentioned charity already. Someone mentioned gift. You can gift up to £3,000 every year. That you can claim in your self-assessment. If you read my guide, How to Avoid the 60% Tax Trap, there's a session that mentions things that you can claim. It's a free guide. I think you can download it for free and just have a read of it. Again, it will be shared in the chat box. And if you don't get it in the chat box, it will be part of the email. When I email you the recorded session, you should be able to get it. It's not hard to find. Okay. I hope that helps, Ruben.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. The other one is, does NHS pension compound like SIPP?
We have no control. What we just know is that at the end of whenever you get to 68, you want them to give you the money. We don't know what they're doing with it. We want to believe that it's compounding. If it's not compounding, whoever is managing it has a lot of questions to ask. We want to hope that. So that's the problem with the NHS pension. We don't know. It's a leap in faith. It's just, you just have faith that something is happening there. So the question is, are they taking enough risk? Because if they're just buying bonds just sit down and give you, what's the current bond rate, 4 point something percent. That's not your money growing. Last year, the S&P 500 did 23%. So whether it's invested or whether it's not invested, the question is, okay, the NHS pension, the contract is at the end of time when you're ready to get your money, they should give it to you. Okay, so we don't know if it's being invested. Well, you're paying into NHS pension, then people retiring are getting paid, then more people are getting in. What if the next set of Gen Z doctors decide they don't want to pay into NHS pension? I think we're going to be screwed. We're going to be screwed because they might decide, you know what, let me leave for today. I'm not paying into NHS pension. So a lot of people don't ask enough questions about their pension. And it's a big chunk of money you're paying in there. In SIPP, you wouldn't dare invest your money without knowing where it's going, except some sweet, fast-talking, smoothly dressed financial advisor. Hopefully one of the ones that are being recommended by our big medical associations. They'll tell you, oh, invest for your future. Like, how much of that is your fees, man? You understand? So NHS pension, I don't know if it compounds. I have no idea what they do with it. I just want to believe that at the end of the day, when you're 68, you can get your money. And if you're not sure, you ought to be making a plan B. You ought to have investments, whether it's SIPP or stock and shares. Okay, lovely. I'm just going to jump into the next one. I hope that helps, Ruben.
Yeah, I know the last one, some other person has asked it.
Okay.
It's just about how to know what is left of the 60K to be able to top up. I know some
That's the
people
big
have raised
question.
the same
That's the
question.
big question, right? It's called you have to calculate your allowance. Usually that is quite nuanced. I can't calculate it for each person here. You can use the NHS salary calculator to calculate basically how much you have left. There's some advisors, some NHS pension experts or financial advisors, they can do a one-off for you, calculate what is left for you to pay in. But you can pretty much work it out by getting in touch with your NHS pension administrator or find out how much they've already paid, find out how much you've paid. The third way is, if you're patient, there's an annual total reward statement they send out.
Oh, yeah.
You can get it yourself. Yeah, the penny dropped. Those things are important. So that can also tell you how much is going into your NHS pension. But the truth is that most people don't even get close to that 60K. I mean, obviously consultants. What do you do, Ruben?
I'm a trainee at
You're
the
a
moment.
trainee. Okay, yeah, you're a trainee. So a lot of some senior consultants, they find that they're getting closer to that 60%. Sorry, to 60,000. So, but if you're a trainee, you're safe. I think most trainees are safe. They're nowhere. They're not contributing 60,000 into their pension. Most trainees. All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, when do I need to do self-assessment? Yeah, Steph, I've answered your question. What is your advice about using medical accountants to claim tax relief? Well, I mean, to claim tax relief, not self-assessment. I'm all for using an accountant for self-assessment. I'm all for using an accountant for limited company to file. But why do you need to pay an accountant to claim tax relief when you can just watch my video and do it step by step? It's not even that difficult. So tax relief, you can go to YouTube, watch the video I've made. It's totally free, or you can download the free guide on tax relief and combine the video and the guide. If you still can't figure out how to claim your tax relief, if you write a comment on the YouTube channel or the blog, we'll answer you in very clear details. You don't need to pay anyone to claim tax relief. However, if you feel you can't be bothered, you can get an accountant. On MoneywiseDoctor.com, we link up with medical accountants that specialize in helping doctors and healthcare professionals. And we like them because we use them and they're good. So that's why we recommend them against other people who are ready to pay. Is that the same thing? If you need a mortgage advisor, if you need a life insurance advisor, I can see some of you here have also used some of our advisors. They are recommended because We trust they know what they're doing. Other doctors have used them and given reviews about them. And also they have all the necessary qualifications. It'd be kind of silly for us to put somebody there that is not highly qualified. Some of them have a lot of experience in dealing with IMG doctors. So that's also a benefit. If you want to get in touch with any of them, you can go to moneywisedoctor.com. You see, find an accountant, find any of those ones. All right. I hope that helps. And if you don't know how to find them, the tax relief video, you can just comment here. Somebody will share the link for you. Okay. The next question, just because I want us to keep it moving, when do I need to do self-assessment? I'm assuming that I did not read my last email. So self-assessment, and the next email, I send an email every Sunday. It's totally free. I've got a few people who have been reading that email for more than a year now. And they always say things like, I remember somebody says him and the wife, they're both doctors. They wait for that email every day, every week, because they know it will come on Sunday, 6 p.m. Sometimes I'm late and I send it by 7. But part of why I sent in that email was self-assessment, the deadline. So I'm also going to remind you again this week. The deadline to submit self-assessment, I think, is January 31. It's January 31, Chi. Thank you. But you can't just wake up and submit self-assessment. You must have told HMRC that you plan to do self-assessment. So if you've told HMRC that you plan to do self-assessment, then you'll be able to do self-assessment, basically. Yeah. So have you already registered? Whose question is this? Okay, right. I'll just move on. So the next question here will be, please, how do I claim back tax for a part of my overpaid salary that I returned to a trust before I started training? I assume it must have been overtaxed. Oluyemisi. Okay. So Oluyemisi, are you here? Right, because this is
Yes, I am. Yes, sir.
Right, okay. Yeah. So you were overtaxed. Thank you for that question. So you feel you were overtaxed?
Yes, I feel so, because before I left the trust, that was before I started my training. I'd already put in my letter of resignation, but somehow they still paid me in full. But later they sent a message. Did they call me on email or something like that? So that, oh, I've been overpaid or something of that sort. So
don't
I had
worry about it.
A lot of money back. So I wasn't very sure if there's a way. I just feel I might have been overtaxed at some point, with considering
my rule is that if you feel you thank you.
I sent it through like a bank transfer.
A bank transfer.
That's I feel, yeah. So I'm thinking if I sent a money through bank transfer to a trust, how does HMRC actually pick that was not part of my salary? I feel they would have calculated it. So it's something that's been on my mind for years. I've never claimed any of my taxes. That this year I would just sit down one of these days and get it sorted. Yeah.
That sounds a bit odd. That trust asked you to pay back money.
Yeah. Because I didn't spend the full month before I came. So I had maybe like 10 days or something like that left. So they sent me while I was contacting, I received an email later that, oh, you left on this day. Maybe let's say I left like middle of the month or like third week, something like that. So they made one calculation. It was like maybe I don't remember the exact amount, but I know if I go through my account, I'll be able to find it. Maybe like 1K5 or something like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think it's possible they overpaid the salary, and part of that salary is tax.
Yeah.
But if you want to claim any overtax, it's going to be through self-assessment. The first step in dealing with anything taxes is to open a HMRC account. If you don't know how to open an HMRC account, go and download our free tax relief guide. It will show you the link. It's simple. You can even Google how to open HMRC account. Open the HMRC account and you'll be able to see how much tax you've paid over the years. Again, this is part of what we'll be dealing with again in the tax drive. The tax x-ray session is going to be hammering in on taxes. It's not going to be about investment. That will be in March because the tax year ends April 5.
Yeah.
So anything you miss, you've missed it. If you do not claim tax relief on professional expenses, you can go back 4 years. But some people are now in their 50 or 60.
Yeah, that's what he's looking like. I think I might have missed some.
Yeah. Again, for some people who are not in the mastermind, so we're able to book one-on-one sessions, but those are getting harder for me to do as well. One-on-one sessions where you can actually just address your specific issues for 1 hour and all that. But people in the mastermind are taking most of my time anyway, which I enjoy. I'm not complaining, but I love it. I enjoy it. So that means I have less time for the one-on-one sessions. But if you wanted to book a one-on-one session, get in touch. You can share email or WhatsApp contact.
Okay.
Lovely. So thank you. That was a good question. When do I need to do self-assessment? We've answered that. How do I maximize my NHS pension? I think we've answered that in this session. And also, I currently combine a salaried role, which is pension, and a locum role, which is not pension. Thinking of going fully locum in the future. How do I ensure that I still get a good pension pot as a locum doctor? Okay, whose question is that? Okay, I'm going to move on basically because I want to answer the question of those that are around, and maybe we'll do a video where we answer the rest of the questions. Is there anyone else who's interested in this and wants an answer to that? And you're still here?
I think the answer to that question is private pension, isn't it? I think you
Exactly.
just open an SIPP, yeah.
Exactly. So if you've left, you're no longer able to contribute to NHS pension, especially if you become a limited liability. Look, doctor, you're working through a limited liability company, so you're no longer an NHS staff. You can open a private pension, which, like she said, one option could be an SIPP, SIPP, or a SARS if you have what it takes to manage a SARS. A SARS is complex. I'd never recommend it for someone who's just starting out. It's a complex. It's good for maybe a business. They use it to manage their pension. So yeah, you probably need a private pension of your own. Right, okay. And then the next question is, please kindly share the links that talk about the NHS pension. I think Yudi has shared it already. Yudi, if you don't mind sharing it again. That's the NHS pension. I think I did a blog. Actually, the blog is quite detailed. NHS pension. You can use the video. Yeah, video or blog, anyone is fine. Then the next question is, how do I maximize my self-assessment return? I think that was Ruben. We've answered that question. How do I maximize my self-assessment tax return? What are all the allowable expenses that can be claimed? How do you calculate travel expense? Ruben, is it fair to say that was your question? Was that you?
Yeah. I think we've addressed.
I think we've addressed that. Okay, that's fine. The next question is, please do give step-by-step guide, idiot's guide. I like an idiot's guide as well, on how to contribute to our pension to escape the 60% tax trap if you're a salaried doctor, because your money has been taxed before you receive it. I think this is a very important question. Does anyone else have that question?
That's my question, actually. But I think in the process of speaking with Magliada, we sort of answered it. So if I can recap, because it's been taxed already, once you get your money, your wage, you can take the amount you want to put in your pension and then do a self-assessment and claim it back.
That is beautiful. That's just it's just what it is. Okay. Obviously easier for me. It is easier if you've got a limited company, then the money doesn't even go to HMRC in the first place. It just goes to your pension, and then you tell them I've spent the money on my pension. But if you're a salaried doctor, like some of our hardworking consultants say, you don't have that option, so you can just claim it through self-assessment. That's actually a brilliant question. Right.
Can I ask a question quickly? It's based on Ruben's question when he asked on things of what can you claim. So as a salaried doctor, can I claim for my, because he mentioned travel, can I claim for my travel to and for work? But I'm salaried. As a salaried doctor, can you claim that in self-assessment? Your travel to and
I
work?
wish we could claim that. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? So you can claim. If you're going somewhere outside your workplace, you can claim.
Yeah.
If you're working at two sites, then you can claim the second site if you're going there. But your regular travel, you might not be able to claim it. Okay. Important question. I've asked that question myself, and I tend to go directly to HMRC to find out. Someone has asked them a question, but before I delve into the next question, I just want a little favor from you. your feedback really matters to us, whether it's good or bad. If you think, well, this guy is talking complete shite, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or it left me more confused. But we'd like to get reviews. So if everyone could get out your phone, we can do it quite quickly and just point it to the screen. I'm going to do the same as well. Make sure I'm getting the right QR code, or you can use the link. You can share the Senya link as well for some people who are using their laptop. Let's see what the link gives us. Okay, so basically, if you wouldn't mind giving us a review, a feedback, it's really quite helpful, basically, because then when I'm asked why didn't you finish your session by 10, because I've got some bosses. I've got a 4-year-old boss and a 7-month-old boss. I say, oh, look at all these reviews. These people, they found it useful. They found the session useful, so I'll get a pass. I like videos as well. If you want to do a video review, that's brilliant. These are some of the reviews we've gotten. Okay. All right. So if everyone has done that now, I'm just going to move on to the next stuff. How financially healthy are you? What is your financial early warning score? You can call it fuse score, just like news score. It can help tell whether you're at risk of financial sepsis or being acutely unwell financially. Now, take our financial health check quiz to find out. In just under 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, you will get a personalized financial health score, an action plan to improve in key areas like your earnings, your savings, investing, and obviously financial security. It's fast, simple, and completely free. Discover where you stand and take control of your financial future today. Take the quiz now using the link in the description. And now let's jump right back to the episode. Okay, the next question. Thank you so much for your reviews. I appreciate that. It also helps more doctors actually find what we're doing and, help them make smarter financial decisions and take charge of their money. Because at the end of the day, 2025, I believe that someone can step into the beginning of the year knowing nothing about taxes and investment and all that. And if they know what they're doing between January, February, and March, once they're able to beat that tax deadline, they can still make up for any mistakes they've done, basically, because now they can, for instance, if you've not used your ISA, if you can know how to use it before the tax year ends, or if you've not used your lifetime ISA, you'll be able to get that £1,000 before the tax year ends. But once the tax year ends, okay, some things you cannot correct those mistakes again. Right. Next question. We've got like
Sorry, Doc.
Yeah, sure.
For interrupting, just a quick question.
Okay.
So particularly with the lifetime ISA, so I actually set it up not so long after our one-on-one session, and I realized that I think somewhere in the app I'm using, they told me that there's a certain amount of pounds, amount of money that I can reclaim within the tax year, and they told me a timeline when it's going to expire, which is the end of the tax year in April. How do I go about that? Is it still part of the NHS tax, or do I need to do something separate?
For lifetime ISA, is that like a promo the app is using? Sometimes some apps try to offer you some money so that you can open the lifetime ISA.
No, but this one, I have the lifetime ISA already with them.
Okay.
So it's just more or less, as I speak with you now, I just opened the app again. And what is when you go and see your balance, it just tells me how much I've put in and tells me that I have in my tax year 2024, 2025, I have so amount of pounds still to claim.
Tell us the amount so that we know what we're doing.
£810.
So basically, have you put up to 4K already?
Not yet.
Yeah, so maybe they're telling you that you can still put an extra.
But I will soon get up to that.
If you feel comfortable sharing, how much did you already put inside?
About 1,005.
Right, okay. So I think I know where the mass is coming from now.
Okay.
So you put in 1,005 and the allowance. So I'm just going to work out the mass. The allowance in the tax is 4,000 for the lifetime ISA, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 4,000 minus 1,005 will give you 2,500.
Yeah.
So 2,500 multiplied by 0.25. That's 0.25 is the government bonus.
Yeah.
That's 625.
Yes.
So they're trying to get you to get the rest of the money. but you don't have to, because that to answer someone else's question, there's no minimum. You can put £1. That's the minimum. So if you don't have 4K to put in, you can put in 1.5 and get that bonus. But if you have 4,000, don't put in a regular savings account. Put in your.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you for clarity. Thank you.
Lovely. We'll chat again in your next one-on-one. The last one was very enjoyable. All right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Right. Okay. That's Anthony in our Mastermind this year. All right. So I'm going to jump into the next question. The next question is Adana. He said, Adana, are you still here? My neighbor. Yeah, I think she's gone now. Okay.
Yes, I'm still here.
Right. Sorry.
I'm still here.
Okay, so you mentioned director's pension. Can you expatiate on it? Is there a maximum percentage of the whole company income that one is allowed to put in? So director's pension is, again, you use a limited company like some of our GPs here, or psych doctors, you do section 12 and all that. You want to put in money into your pension, you're entitled to have a pension as the director of a company, and that could be a SIPP or a SARS or any type of private pension you want. So director's pension is basically opening a pension in your name through the company. So director's pension could also equally be you opening a SIPP and then paying into the SIPP from your limited company. Does that make sense? So that's the director's pension. It's your pension, but when we go to HMRC's director's pension, it's your pension, it's Adana's pension, but you're able to claim that money because you're the director of a company, unlike Chi, who is a consultant in the NHS that needs to go and get the money back from the HMRC. You don't need to get the money back. You pay it as an expense, right? And you asked me what's the maximum you can put in? Is 60,000 in a year. You asked me what's the percent
even for limited, even for a limited company.
For everybody, like any individual, the maximum you can put in is 60K. So for you, Chi, that 60K could be made up of your contribution to the NHS pension, your employer's contribution to the NHS pension, and maybe any extra money you put in a SIPP. For someone else, I think, was that Olufemi, or I didn't get the person who was doing salary sacrifice. It could be your NHS pension, which would include your salary sacrifice, your employer's contribution, and then if you have a SIPP as well, it all goes into that 60K. Meanwhile, for someone like Adana, it might be like, oh yeah, I made 80K profit. I don't want to pay all of that as profit. So it's not yet profit because I've decided to put 60K into my SIPP. So your profit becomes 20,000. So that's what you're going to pay out dividend to yourself and other shareholders in your companies, which I hope you have, because I do. So other shareholders in your company get these dividends. That means that your taxable income just dropped from 80,000 to 20,000. I'm going into the area that are a bit hot. These are things that we share in the tax X-ray session. But basically, we didn't make the rules, right? We didn't set up the system. Yeah, it's not. Some people set it up to favor their friends or whatever. We just learn about it and making use of it. Because at the end of the day, if you make £1, you want that £1 to work harder than you did to make it. You want that £1. Get all the tax relief you can get on it and then invest it. Don't invest it and then overpay tax on it. That's a loser's game. You want to get all the tax relief on it and then invest it and still be getting relief on that investment. That's the game. Some of you asked me, how come you don't have a regular job? That's the game. Like you get your income. If you make it work for you, over 20 years of time investing. Oh, that's my alarm gone now. If you got 20 years of doing this thing, you cannot be on the same level with someone who's just like, all right, just take in the needle and take all the blood you want. It's not possible because you're playing in a different game. Okay, and it's all legal, it's all written down. We don't do anything that is not legal here. We don't discuss any offshore accounts. No, we don't do that. You also said, I know that when one is ready to withdraw from SIPP, one needs to pay tax. I've answered this question. So this is Ada's question. I've already answered it. You were asking about whether you need to pay tax. Chidiogo asked the question. I've answered it. Can we use Investing in or Trading 212 to open a stock ISA for my kids? I don't think Investing offers a junior ISA. I'm not sure about Trading 212. I think you should go watch my video on YouTube about can you make your child a millionaire. Yeah, I remember the day I released that video. I also shared it in the Moneywise Doctor community. I think you were there that day. I don't know if you
Yeah.
watched it. Yeah. So maybe you should watch that video. And if you're not sure, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me on the YouTube channel. I'll answer it. I'm very detailed when I reply to questions on the YouTube channel because I feel like several other people may have the same question. That way it gets answered. Rashida asked, is SIPP accessible before retirement age? The question is, what is retirement age? So Rashida, what's retirement age? What do you mean retirement age? Right. I don't think she's here.
But we also addressed this earlier on.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I think we said currently the age is 55, isn't it? And
The
from
age is 55.
2028, if you want to access it early, you'll be 57 years old. I think
Please,
we kind of
would you like to be a co-facilitator in the next session?
Hello, I'm still here. I really joined very late because I'm 3 hours ahead of you guys where I am. So,
Rashida, where are you?
I'm on a very short vacation.
Nice.
So yes, I'm just even realizing that retirement age has been reduced because somebody just mentioned 55.
No,
Is it
No,
65
it's
or
not
55?
retirement. It's not retirement age. So if you have SIPP, the question we asked earlier was, can you access it before retirement age? And the answer
Yes.
was yes. So the next question became, at what age then can you access it if you want to access it early? So currently is the age of 55.
Okay.
Because it's for your pension, isn't it? It's the age of 55.
Unlike
From
NHS pension,
2028,
which you cannot access, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now the next question regarding that, I'm sorry if you've answered this before, is would you now be taxed if you access it earlier?
You mean your NHS pension or your SIPP?
No, the SIPP.
You
will.
Yeah, you can access it earlier than 55. If you access it before then.
No, at the right time. Would you not be taxed?
So you will be taxed. So that's part of what
anytime
we're
you
doing.
access it, you'll be taxed.
Anytime you access any of your pension. But I think I explained it earlier on. 25% you can withdraw as a lump sum without tax. So most people just take that 25% and then withdraw the rest in bits that are not that much taxable, because then your pension income is regarded as income and you're taxed at the current tax rate. So let's say Rashida, for those of you who don't know, Rashida is a consultant radiologist, and we had a one-on-one session as well. She's somewhere on a nice holiday. But Rashida, if you, for instance, retire, you take 25% of your bulk payment is tax-free. Now, let's say the next year you decide to take like 50K. They will tax you the same way they tax somebody that earns 50K.
Okay.
So if you are fortunate, like I know many radiologists, probably at 70, they will still be able to just sit down in their house and do some work. You might think, well, I'm not going to withdraw 50K. I'm just going to withdraw 12,570 this year. And then I'm going to gift my grandson or my son this amount. I'm going to do this and all that. At the end of the day, you might still end up not paying any tax on it. And even if you decided you wanted much more, you can withdraw 50K, then you pay the tax at 20% of what regular people pay, which would have been much more than what you would have been paid as a consultant radiologist, where you'd be paying 60% basically if you've crossed that tax threshold. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I have a lot more questions on SIPP, but I will just go read more about it and be more detailed in my question.
Have a read, send us a question in the comments.
This session is recorded.
The session is recorded, and also you're in the premium community, you're in the private community. You can always ask a question if you've got a question, or ask on the video, or email me. There are so many ways. The worst way that I struggle to respond is DMs. I mean, if you want to, you can DM me, and I'm going to respond, but I may not respond immediately. I'm not referring to you in particular, Rashidat. I'm just talking to anyone else who's got questions. Okay. All right. I hope that's sorted. And then the next question came from: would you advise someone with pension? Would you advise someone to continue with NHS pension if leaving the UK in 2 years for Canada? We've answered this question. Chi helped me on site. When still on SIP, how can I know what amount is left to be put into a SIP if NHS staff with 10.7%? Kingsley, I think we also answered this one, sort of like a calculation to work out your statement, and that should help. Then the next, I think we might have answered a lot of the questions during the process. Someone says, can I get my NHS pension as a lump sum before pension age? Blessing, if so, how much would you pay? I think it's possible, but you're going to pay a lot. I think they charge, I don't know the exact amount, whether it's 5% per age, 1 year before retirement. So you're going to lose a lot of money. So I wouldn't want to withdraw my NHS pension before the retirement age. But if you must withdraw it, then you need to take specialized advice from a specialist medical accountant. I would recommend to actually calculate what you're going to gain or lose before you make that decision. At the minimum, you need a financial advisor, an independent specialist financial advisor that is vetted, not random person calling themselves financial advisor. Just someone that is a specialist and they're independent and they know what they're doing. Right. Someone says, do you open a new SIP every year? I think that's you, Adana. So do you open a new SIP every year, or do you just open one SIP and then pay into it the max per year? No, you don't need to open a new SIP every year because it's your pension. But ISA, you are free to open a new one every year if you want. You can continue using the same provider, but you're entitled to a new ISA account every year. You're entitled to £20,000 every year. One thing to note about ISA nowadays, you can open more than one ISA if you want, but you must not exceed £20,000. Now, for those of you that are still hanging around, I've got a special hack. If you lean forward, I'm going to tell you a trick about ISA that most people don't use. Okay, are you ready for it?
This could save you several thousands of pounds, not just in your taxes and pensions. Have you fallen into the 60% tax trap as a doctor or healthcare professional without even knowing? It's crazy. I know you think the highest tax you can pay is 45%, but here's how it works. If your income exceeds 100,000, you start to lose your personal tax allowance, and by the time you hit about 125,000, you've lost your entire tax allowance. This means you're paying an effective tax rate of 60%. That's not good. You lose a lot of other benefits with it. Now, if it's something you've never thought about, or you're worried you're not sure how to navigate it, you're in luck, because I've written a very clear guide with a 10-point checklist that you can use to avoid the 60% tax trap. One of the biggest ones is obviously paying more into your pension, but there are 9 other steps you can take. Check the link in the description and download it for free. Let me know if it helps. Let's jump right back into the episode.
Sorry, I want to. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, go for it.
I just need a clarification, please. You said for the ISA, you can open a new ISA every year. So, what about if you already have ISA with different providers? Do you have to open a new one, or can you just? I mean, what exactly do you mean by a new one? Is it that you put in some more money into that one you already put once next year reaches, or you have to open a new account with them again? What do you mean?
You seem offended at the thought of opening a new account. I promise you, you don't have to go and start the whole process again. Sometimes it's just
account is plenty all over the place.
I know.
Track of the money that one has.
That means you're going to love my video coming out on Sunday. It's called the 7 accounts you must have on your journey to financial freedom. The 7 accounts. But what I mean is that you can open a new ISA account. If you're already using, let's say you're using InvestEngine for your ISA, the next day you need to sign an agreement, like just click a button to agree to reopen the ISA with them. So it doesn't mean filling a new form. It just means you need to authorize them again to use that ISA.
Okay. And then when you contribute to that ISA, it will still reflect into the whole money together, isn't it? That you have with them.
But you now have a brand new £20,000 allowance.
Yes,
so
but in
April
terms
6th,
of the investment and everything, it's still going to add up to the total sum that you have with them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So remember, ISA is not your investment. ISA is the account You still need
Yeah.
to then invest the money. So you can
Yeah.
then still put in, like I know many people, beginning of the year, tax year, April 6th, they put in 20K. They just don't want to miss it. Okay. But of course, if you've got a lifetime ISA, you can put in 20K. If you put 4,000 in your lifetime ISA, you only have 16,000 to put
Yeah.
in your stock and shares ISA. And if you put your emergency fund 10,000, then you only have 10,000 for the rest of your ISAs. Did that sort it out?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay. The ISA hack I was going to share, I'll come back to you. The ISA hack I was going to share is a lot of people approach ISA and tax as individuals, approach it as a family. If you're in a family where there are 2 adults, then you've got 20K, make sure you're claiming for both of you if you can. If you're in a family where there are children, they're less than 18 years, remember there is junior ISA, so you can also claim £9,000 ISA allowance. If you've got like a family of 2 adults, that's 40K. If you've got 2 children, that's 18K, that's 58K already, ISA allowance that you can invest tax-free. Okay. Another thing I want to explain: if you've got a limited company, are you able to claim? For instance, I think one of our private community members here, she asked a question earlier on. She has a staff that has maybe 15 or 16, I don't know what age, but 16 years, teenager, very sharp, doing some work for her, and then she can pay him or her as an admin assistant out of the limited company. That's before tax. So this is approaching tax from a family-oriented aspect. You understand? So how can someone in your, I'll give you an example of that. You're a limited company director, but you're also a shareholder. So if you take all the dividends, you might end up with a large dividend, and then you suddenly have a large taxable income. How about you've got other people who are also shareholders? I don't know, maybe people who are working in your company, whether they are, maybe they're not, they don't need to be working in your company. I've got like some, like if you have a partner, if you have a family member, they could be shareholders in your companies. And again, there's no rule that they should be in UK. They can be anywhere. Then they settle their tax wherever they are. Okay. So that means that you can actually end up with you personally paying less tax. Again, this is a bit more in depth. Some of it is hard to explain. Not everyone here has a limited company, so not a very useful thing to share if you don't have a limited company. But it's worth knowing that there are many ways. You know,
I think
actually,
another way that I was thinking about recently was that dividend. You don't have to necessarily use everything. You may put some of it into the SIPP as well.
Is that not what we've been talking about all along? If you
when you take the dividend, you can put some in the SIPP, and that will not be taxed just yet. And then whatever is left of it would then be, isn't it?
No, if you put dividend in your SIPP, you then have to claim it through self-assessment.
Yes.
Before we can get to dividend, you have to have declared a profit. Once you declare a profit, you have to pay tax on that profit. So then whatever else you're putting in after the profit basically has been taxed.
Yeah, true.
If you've not paid the tax, HMRC is expecting the money. They do like to get their money. They are hiring 5,000 new workers, so they like to get that money at that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're almost at the last question now. Someone says, can one put gift into SIPP contributions? That it seems like it's all your questions towards the end. So that's good. We'll just finish it up. Do you open a new SIPP every year? No, we've answered that. Hello, please. Samuel, I came across a thrift kind of contribution where I can get about £5,000 at a time once a year. What do you think about this? Are there better ways of raising or keeping funds? Samuel, are you here? Are you still here? I wanted to understand your question better. Okay. I'll just Samuel, you're here. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Do you want to clarify? Is it like sort of people contributing money and then maybe you get some at the end? Turn by turn.
Yoruba people call it ajo, so to speak. So
ajo, yeah.
All of us contribute, and then somebody packs the money a month.
Now I understand clearly what you're saying. I have nothing against that. I have nothing against that. I'm not a big fan. I'll tell you why. It introduces risk, and anytime there's risk, I want a reward. This is what we teach in the investment masterclass. If there's a risk, you want a reward. If there is no reward in it, then I don't want to take the risk. Okay. Now, here is the thing. If I give somebody my money to hold, it introduces a level of risk, right? Because the person might be honorable and everything, but maybe they might forget to pay me, or there might be an issue, or there might be stories. Do you understand? So I'd rather have the money in a bank. I'll give you an example. For instance, if you are currently putting £1,000 every month, giving it to somebody, at the end of the 5 months period, what are they going to give you? Let's say there are 5 of you, and each of them you give 1,000. One person takes 5,000. One person takes 5,000 till it gets to your turn. How much would you collect from that? 5,000. Okay, let's check the other scenario. Let's say I'm putting 1,000 into my, sorry. Okay, so 5,000. On the other hand, let's just say I'm putting 1,000 into my account, in my LISA account. I put 1,000, I put 1,000, I put 1,000, and by 4th month, I already have a free £1,000 from the government. And I'm taking less risk because I'm putting my money into an institution that I think has a high chance of paying me. And they've also got something called FSCS, where if your money is less than 85,000 and the bank goes broke, then they are covered by insurance. Agile is great and it's lovely for making friends, but if your main focus is actually maximizing, optimizing your finances, maybe that might not be the first place to start to save money. You might want to start with things like putting in a proper account that's actually going to pay you interest, or if you're just trying to do it in a way that you don't want to make mistake and not save money, then you want to learn about AMAS. My system I call AMAS is automated monthly activated savings system. It's simply set up a direct debit to your current account. Take that same amount that you'd have put in or sent to whoever you're doing the contributions with. That can automatically go into that account. Just assume that you're contributing to that account. That way the money is still safer, there's less stories, and I know you have the most trustworthy friends in the world, or you have the most trustworthy group. But again, when it comes to money, strange things can happen. So that's why I'm not against it. I just don't do it personally. I've never done it. I like to take a risk when I can see a reward. If there's no reward, there's no need to take a risk. If I'm doing charity, I know it's charity. If my friends need money, I give them money. If they want to borrow money, I borrow them money. But when it comes to that sort of contribution, again, is that taking a risk, but there's no reward. Did that help? I don't know. For some of us that are not from the same culture, I know many cultures also do this. It has different names. I've heard somebody from Philippines say they do a similar thing. I've heard somebody from different countries where you contribute money. Maybe this person brings a certain amount, and every month you contribute, let's say £1,000 is given to one person. Let's say there are 5 of you, and then you all pay your 1,000 to the same person. The next month to be somebody else's turn. Yeah. So does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, we're almost at the end now. I think I owe it to you, since you put down the questions, to answer the questions, and I also probably will make a video on the ones that weren't so covered in details. Someone said, is it possible to have a SIPP and ISA account and invest through them separately in the same tax sale? This is Alaba. This is a very important question. We could have addressed it early, but obviously limited time. Is Alaba still here? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. So the answer is yes. And that's what I'll do. That's what I do. You can have a SIPP account. You can have an ISA account. Your SIPP will give you that ability to maximize your tax allowance of 60K, and your ISA will give you allowance of 20K to invest your after-tax money. Yes, and I think part of what we do in our sort of my one-on-one sessions, we usually check if you have a SIP, if you have an ISA, why you're not using both of them. Okay, if you don't have spare money to put in your SIP, of course. But anytime you have spare money to invest, don't go through a regular investment account. Make sure you are using the tax so that government is helping you to invest. Basically, they are contributing to your investment fund by giving you that relief. Okay, lovely. Can I claim tithes paid to church and tax relief? Yes, Samuel, you can.
Can I ask a follow-up question on the SIPP that's all about?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so mine is also linked to what a couple of questions we've asked. So essentially, with the SIPP, for someone who has left a salaried GP role and is looking to work full-time locum via a limited company, obviously no more access to NHS pension and looking at SIPP. Now, if one was to, relocate, what happens to the funds in that SIPP? Are they accessible from anywhere in the world, or what happens essentially?
Should be.
Yes, that's the answer. So you can access your SIPP from anywhere. In fact, there are some countries that have agreements, places like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and lots of people access their pension from Nigeria, Pakistan, different countries. So your pension won't just disappear. That's also why it's important which country your pension is, because of course most of you know I'm originally Nigerian, and when I left for the UK, at some point as a student I needed my money really badly. I was able to go to my pension fund that I had when I was working in NGO, and I said I want 25% of my pension. They said, have you retired? I said, yes, I've not been working for 1 year, so it's retired. Then I was 29 or 30 or whatever. And I was able to get 25% of the money because they said you can't get the full money because you're less than 50. But again, I was able to get that 25% bulk, which I needed at that point. So if I could get it from Nigeria, I think I'd probably be able to get 25% of my pension or ISA or SIP, even if I'm in a different country. However, if you move to a different country, you can't contribute to ISAs anymore. So I've got some of our GP colleagues who've moved to Canada. That's why I do some sessions overnight, because it's daytime for them and they want to do one-on-ones with me. They go there, they find out they need to invest. They've never really done any investment in their life. There's no NHS pension, there's no ISA. So they really need to feel their way around investing. So basically, if you leave the UK, you can't put more money in your ISA, but your ISA is still yours and you can get it whenever it's due. If it's a stock and shares ISA, you can still use it. But you can't put money in your lifetime ISA. Lovely.
Would you still be able to invest in the SIPP from, say, Canada or Australia, for instance?
Yes, because that is a pension. But most people would actually sort of like relocate their pension to the country where they are. But a pension is different. A pension is not an ISA. So you should still be able to, as long as you're a tax resident in the UK. You change your tax residence to Canada, then you now need to deal with whatever is the allowance in Canada. And Canada has got a bit of a different system. You can use your limited company as a doctor. So if you're a family physician, you can take the money in your limited company and just invest it without paying tax, and then you pay tax in the future. But that was a very nuanced, a little bit different. If you move to a different country, you still have access to your pension, but you need to figure out, are you going to be tax resident in UK? Are you going to be tax resident in that country? Okay. Final.
All right.
Sorry, did you answer my question about whether or not you can put gifts in a SIP?
Gifts? How do you put your gifts in SIP? You mean if somebody gives you a gift?
Yeah, if someone gets a gift, because I know you're supposed to tax gift, isn't it? If you get gift, it's taxed, isn't it? Or it's not?
It's not the receiver that is taxed, it's the giver that is taxed.
Really?
Yes.
So if somebody gives me something now, I'm not taxed on it?
No. You're taxed if you are the giver. You're allowed up to £3,000. Why did they do that? Some people decide to give out their funds so that they don't pay pension on them. So they don't pay tax on them. I'll give you an example: inheritance tax. If you're a wealthy person, let's say you've got a bit of money and you're approaching, let's say you think you might die in the next 5 years. So people start giving out money. They sell their house, they give money to their child, they give money to their grandson, they give money. At the end of, let's say when they die, then there's no money left to be taxed for inheritance tax. So that's a strategy. But the government now put a restriction that the maximum you can gift is 3K, basically, in a tax year. Again, I don't think you need to worry about that yet. But you being the recipient of the gift, you're not supposed to be taxed on it.
So you're saying that somebody can receive tax, maybe 10 grand, 10K pounds sterling, and there's no tax on it.
There's
as
no
a
tax
receiver.
on gift.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, thanks for that information. I did not know that. So that would not be counted as
people
income
that
for
give.
someone.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just wondering where people are seeing people that are gifting £10,000 so that we can also register, please.
I'm praying that Adana shares that link later so that we
Please,
can get there.
So
I'm just
Adana,
asking so I can
you
know.
share that link, I beg. You share that link later. So are we too.
Well, this is a different discussion. Probably another masterclass, not me. Somebody else organize. I organize a masterclass.
But I think the road to that is, getting all this information about financial management, and then you get to the point where you're wealthy enough, you built your wealth, you've invested over time, and then you have that much to gift. So I think there's a right step.
I love it. I love it, Ali. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So
I have a question. Sorry, Andy. You said you come back to me earlier. It's about cash ISA.
Don't worry, I'll get to you in a second. Let me just finish the
Okay.
parking load so that we know that
Yeah.
it's all done. Someone
Okay.
asked, can I claim tithes paid to church in tax relief? If you pay tithe to your church, you can claim it in tax relief as long as the church is in the UK. It's easier if you paid it through your account or if you pay through a card. That way is documented. And that was Samuel. Then what is SEIS? I don't think I'll be able to go into that. I've used SEIS myself to invest in a startup company, a software company. I'm an angel investor in that company. I think it's a little bit outside the scope here, but basically is if you invest in a company that is newish, especially if their capitalization is less than 250,000, the UK government will underwrite, meaning that they will write off any losses you have up to 50% of your investment. You see why I didn't bother bringing it here, but that could be like something that we'll look at in the mastermind. So the UK government will underwrite, basically, let's say investing in this company, software company, it's a risky investment. If they turn out not to become anything useful, then the UK government will say, okay, the 50% of that money you invested, you can now claim it as tax relief. So that's why we rushed when we wanted to, for the investors that wanted that. We really, really wanted the SCIS. Those that were from America, New Zealand, that wanted to invest in that company, they were just looking at us, giving us the bombastic side eyes. They don't have that in their country. They have their own type of tax relief. In fact, the company used that as a means to, promote the fund they were raising. They had SCIS, and of course, they didn't allow us to just buy up all the SCIS. They even had to allocate it. You're buying 12 shares, you can get 2 SCIS. So SCIS is a very interesting topic. We've not begun to scratch the surface. I'm just sort of like sharing basically what people want to know about immediate issues, but there's another level when it comes to this whole tax and investment thing. But thank you for bringing up that question, Ali. The last 2 questions before we get Chi's question is that, can I claim tax relief from professional fees if I already claimed the fees as expense on a limited company? No, you can't. You can't do that. If you've claimed it, you can't claim it. You can only claim it once. Okay. Also, can I pay my nanny via my medical limited company and claim it as expense as our service helps me do my job? I think a lot of this will depend. If you do it through a limited company, you employ the nanny through your company, you give them a letter of employment through your company, and give them, because basically HMRC has trade tests. Maybe you've never heard about it. If you want to claim anything as expense, it has to be reasonable. Who determines what is reasonable? but they say it has to be reasonable, it has to be exclusive. So that expense is for your work exclusively, and it has to be wholly for your work. So if you buy a guitar, or let's say you buy a car, more practical, and use it for your work, but you also use it to drive around, HMRC is saying, no, that's not it. You have to then pay us some money back. Okay, but who is tracking? What is wholly? How much of it is used? So again, this is a very nuanced question. This is the kind of thing that you want to maybe address with an accountant, or if you wanted a one-to-one session, you can book a session. We can look at it actually, because this is a bit nuanced. You want to be careful around it, because if you make that expense and then HMRC says no later, then you have to pay them back, and you have to pay an interest on it, and you have to even, pay a penalty. HMRC penalties are annoying. With investing, can I determine the type of stocks and shares a companies are investing? Yes, but investing has one limitation, which is actually a good thing for most people. Investing has only index funds and ETFs. So that's the link to investing again. I think they still give like £50 welcome fees, a welcome bonus for doctors who go through our link. But investing doesn't have individual stocks. It just has like basket of stocks. So if you wanted to buy ETFs, index fund, investing is the right place to go, and there's zero fees on it. But if not, you can try other platforms. There's Trading 212 where you can buy individual stocks. Just really need to know what you're doing so that you don't make mistakes, because some of those softwares or apps will be pushing you to say, oh, this one is going up, that one is going down, this one is going up, it's gamified, which is not something you see in investing and Vanguard. So you want to be really careful. Right, Chi? We've been waiting for that question. We want to get it now.
Okay, so it's not actually a big question, and maybe I already know the answer. It's about cash ISAs. I was just all this while we've been talking ISA, and I just realized that for the stocks and shares ISA, I use platforms, but for my cash ISA, I use one of my banks. I use my bank. And I realized that's because I've been using a cash ISA for a very long time before I became aware of these other platforms / became confident in them. I only started using them when I joined Moneywise, to be honest. So just wondering, and maybe I know the answer, the cash ISAs with banks and cash ISAs using the platforms.
Yeah.
I mean, which is better? Do they have different? I suspect they have different interest rates. So which one's better? What's better to use? Is it judge them on their interest rates? Is that the thing
I
to do?
judge first on the fees. If there's a fee, then that's the first thing I check. Then if there's no fee, the next thing is the interest rate. For some people, it's also convenience, because if another platform gives let's say give 4.1% interest and your bank gives 4.09, you might think 0.01 is not enough reason for me to go through all that stress. Because at the end of the day, being your financial wellness is not just about the amount in the bank. It's also
about a
not
mental
being,
load,
not being mentally stressed about money as well. I always say this in the investment masterclass, if you remember, you either eat well or you sleep well. So you can take more risk, buy the crypto you think is going to become 100x. And also I have like a small percentage of my investment that goes into high risk investments like startups. But you want to be able to sleep well. So if you take safer investments, you get less return, you sleep well, but you don't eat well. But if you also want to eat well and you take higher risk investment, you eat well, but you don't sleep well. So the thing is finding a balance, and that's where asset allocation comes in, which is also day 2 of the investment masterclass. Knowing how to allocate your assets properly so that you're taking the right amount of risk and not end up, over allocating assets to one that is too risky or missing out on returns because you're not taking enough risk. Someone said, can I recommend platform for ISAs? There are so many platforms. As you can tell, I like investing because it's 0% fee and it's very easy to use, and there's less chance of you taking silly or making unnecessary mistakes with investing in individual stocks. So I've posted a link to Invest Engine. You can check it out, but it's not the only one. There's Vanguard. Vanguard is very good. They've got ISAs as well. Recently, they annoyed a lot of their subscribers by introducing fees. They've introduced £4 fees per month. That means that if you are putting £100 per month into Vanguard, they're already charging you 4% of that £100. So while they did it, people like Invest Engine, they're getting a lot of people moving from Vanguard to Invest Engine. But there are many other platforms. There's Trading 212, there's Free Trade, there's Moneybox. It doesn't matter. What you always want to check out is it easy to use? Can I use it easily? Who else is using this? And what are their fees? Very important. Okay. The platform for the protected startup investment. There's no platform, it's SAIS. The startup themselves have to get those shares and come to you. Okay. All right. Okay. Just before we round up, someone said to me that yesterday that the best investment she's ever made in her whole life was joining the Moneywise Doctor Mastermind. Basically, why she said that is that what she got from the first one-to-one session was enough for her to recover the fees for joining, basically. Because basically, if you understand how to maximize it, just one information you get can actually be thousands of pounds. What? Like, you've been through this, is almost 3-hour session, and this is just like you're scratching the surface. I think some of you here who are already in the mastermind or who have been in our masterclass, you understand that we're scratching the surface, basically, because there's a lot. Sometimes information, I think, is free. Information should be free. There's implementation. Content is free. It's context. There's a little bit nuanced. When you're dealing with someone, okay, if I've been investing for 20 years, there's something that you don't just read on a blog, even if I try to convey it on a blog. The same thing with taxes and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say for those of you who are really, if you're not sure, I think you should just get on the waiting list. If you're one of the 3 people, it's really quite simple. If you join the Mastermind, which is a 12-month program, if after the first couple of class sessions you feel this is not for me, or if you feel this is not going to be 10 times what the money I paid to join, you can just send us a message. We'll give you a full refund, and you also get a free book from us for wasting your time. And you can also keep all the resources, which includes videos and some other sort of like recorded materials that are not public, because like I said to you, they're a little bit hot. They are quite legal, but it's easy to be misunderstood. Okay. Yeah. So I'll say if you share the link to the waiting list on the mastermind, you can point your phone to the barcode to join the waiting list. The first session starts tomorrow by 8:30 p.m. So if you wanted to join this batch, because I think this is the last batch where we're going to have like 4 one-on-one and it's 12 months and all that stuff. There might be future batches, but this particular cohort is also good to join this cohort if you've got like the right set of people in there. You've got like consultants, you've got like resident doctors, junior doctors, SHS, GPs, a wide range. I've got people like basically like I mentioned, the investment bank. I've got people who are like super organized. They're sharing their spreadsheet. So I think it's a no-brainer. Basically, the sessions are quarterly. There will be a quarterly exclusive sessions, but the one-on-one, you're totally in control of it. You book the one-on-one whenever you want. There's going to be one every quarter. So if you do what you need to do for that one-on-one, the next quarter I'll be checking what was the plan. But what's most crucial is that the investment masterclass, which is a 4 weeks program, if you're in the mastermind as well, you should be able to get into the investment masterclass. Now, there's something I did for everyone who is currently in the mastermind. I sent them a book out of my own library. So I've got like 12 books out of the 256 personal finance books I read. I've got like 12 books I think everyone should read. And you don't have to read all of them in one day. But if you read one per year, which is what we're going to do in the mastermind, there's a book club as well. So I'll send you a book as well. For those who join this current mastermind, I'll send you a book for free. It's just my welcome, one of those 12 books. But that will be for those who join within the next, is it 24 hours? I don't know. before the next session. All right, but I think I'm going to draw the curtains here, except you have any more questions, so that we can say we'll finish by 11:30. If anyone has any final questions or anything, I'd like to address that. Right. Casey, lovely. Thank you so much, Casey. And I'll see you in the Mastermind session tomorrow. Right, lovely.
Could I ask one quick last question, please?
Of course.
So I wanted to ask about the NHS pension. If you increase your contribution, does the government match, that increment, or there's a cap on, what they pay?
There's a cap on the match.
Okay.
The government doesn't actually match anything in the NHS pension. It's your employer, which is the NHS, that matches it. Yeah.
Okay, so is the employer obliged to match it when you voluntarily increase how much you contribute?
Now, I think it depends on how much you contribute. That's why they control it. You understand? They control how much you can contribute. So for most workplace pensions, if you contribute more, the employer can match it up to a certain amount. But in the NHS pension, they probably allow you to contribute. I think the maximum, last time I got someone to check, it was £8,000. Above that amount, they won't contribute more. So if you speak to your pension administrator, if they agree for you to put this extra amount, then they will match just that amount that they agreed to.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's been a very long session. Again, we've done it again. We ended up doing double the time. We've got to learn how to keep the time. But you guys asked so many questions. So I'm just going to draw the curtains here. But before we go, in February, we've got something special coming. I do want to announce it to the end because I want only the people that stay to the end to get it. Thank you so much, Ali. We've got a challenge, 7 days to start investing. It's going to come in February. So I don't know if any member of my team could share the link to join. So this is it's free challenge. It's a free 7-day challenge. If you want to start investing, you're not sure where to start, and you were not able to get into the mastermind, obviously, because it's probably will be full now. Then we're going to do that 7 days. The game is that within that 7 days, at the end of that 7 days, you should be able to start investing. What we're going to address in that 7 days will be things like, let's say, I think I've got a slide for it. 1 minute, 7-day investing challenge. So there's going to be daily actionable steps to optimize your taxes and start investing before April 5. It's going to be from 1st to 7th February. For those who joined, it's probably going to be 1st or 2nd, but I think it's 1st to be a good day to start, 7-day challenge. And if we say there are 7 things you need to do before you start investing, we're going to go through all that within the challenge. So if you've had difficulties, you've not gotten your ISA set up, then you can set it up during the 7-day challenge. If you've got let's say you haven't got your income protection and the rest of them, you can do that during your 7-day challenge. And if you don't understand, which account should I use for investing? Have I got my emergency fund? You should do all that during the 7-day challenge. So I think you should sign up for it. The link is in the chat box, and I might also email it to you. So that will be what we'll be doing for February. But we should do it early in February because I'm traveling. Valentine's in February, so I'll probably be traveling with my babe, my wife. All right, okay. Right, should we draw the curtain here?
Thank you so much, Dr. Egwim.
Sorry, I was asking a question.
What was the question?
So I was about tomorrow's mastermind class. Have you sent the invite already?
All right, that will be sent to you directly. Yeah, so that will be 8:30 p.m. Yeah, okay. Right, okay. All right, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your feedback, and thank you again. If you want to leave me a feedback that I can see and read later, then do it on Senya. I think the link you just shared earlier on. If you want to send me that feedback, I really appreciate it because then it helps us feel better about ourselves. All right. Well, thank you everyone, and thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session, but I guess you are just as drained as I am. Maybe in future sessions we'll have a few breaks in between. But thank you for joining me. Have a lovely evening yourself.